The sky so far away tonight, but I can't lose this one. Get a pride of a falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me, where did we go so wrong?
Raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself, and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Chris Gio. We're going to be stepping beyond the veil this evening. I'm joined, of course, by my lovely wife and co-pilot, Mrs. Gio.
Good evening, everyone.
And we figured we would do an impromptu live stream, talk about the nature of reality in 2020. Everything is upside down. And I figured we'd get into some discussions about that. I thought maybe we can also talk about the nature of the Matrix as well. We'll go back over and talk a little bit about NPCs, raw consciousness, organic consciousness, kind of some stuff that we haven't talked about in a few years, because we have a lot of new people who have been following along, so we can go back and revisit those topics, but do so with a much broader perspective here in 2020 as everything is completely and totally upside down. What do you think?
I think so, definitely. It's a really hectic time for everyone. And a friend of ours, a really good friend of ours, I'm not going to say what her name is because she's probably going to be listening tonight, has been, feeling a little bit down lately, and, her doctors are trying to put her on antidepressants and they're trying to, diagnose her and all this. And I'm like, no. This isn't a diagnosable thing. This is the halfway point of the reset. So, of course, things are going to be a little bit weird right now. Thank you, baby. Mm-hmm. Things are going to be a little bit weird right now. Things are going to be a little bit unsure. And when we have unsurety, it's hard to plan for the future. And a lot of people, no matter who you are, you're having a very hard time planning for the future right now. And I mean, it's just like people that are in any kind of natural disaster or they're in some kind of horrible catastrophe after the cleanup, is kind of halfway through. It starts to feel like, where do I go now? What next? And whatever this is, it's not the virus itself. It is the response. It's the reaction to the virus has upset the entire world and turned everything upside down. So I can understand people feeling like that. So lots of love to you, sweetheart. We love you so much. And hang in there, because this isn't something you can drug away, and you can try, but it's not going to make you any happier, I don't think. So
that's true. One of the things about this world right now is that everything is literally upside down, and as a result of it being upside down, the bad guys are the ones without the masks now. And the good guys are the ones who will wear the masks. At least that's the way they've tried to flip it upside down on its head. Yeah. I was actually watching a news article earlier, and they said unmasked man pulls gun at Walmart and threatens to kill somebody. Who is this unmasked man? And I was like, I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. And here we are in 2020 with this craziness happening. Now, we did a show last night, and YouTube is having some quote-unquote server issues. Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with that show. They said wait 48 hours. If it's not fixed, contact them back again. Yesterday we talked about btvtribe.com, which is our little store. I'm just going to do a quick plug here for you, just so you can see what's going on over there. So we have some face masks here. Hiding from Biden. We have the coronavirus warning label. This is right off the ear loop masks that say does not provide any protection against COVID-19. We have this one here, one of my favorites. This world is run by COVIDiots. COVID-19 survival rate 99.6%. They're basically protest masks because there's mandatory masks coming down right now, and it's becoming harder and harder to go places without a mask. And so in the event that I have to wear a mask, I want to wear something that is going to really illustrate my voice and how I feel about the situation here. Wolf in sheep's face mask, for example. But you can go to btvtribe.com. And I forgot to mention yesterday, too, if you pick anything up from BTV Tribe at any point in time, use coupon code BTVTribe. Put it in at checkout, and you will get free shipping. And I didn't even realize this until earlier that they charge for shipping on every single item. So make sure to utilize that code BTV Tribe for anything from the BTV store. But the mask issue is a big deal. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about the importance of maintaining the liberty and the freedom. But quite frankly, I don't think that we're going to be able to do that. I had a horrible dream earlier, and this dream was that I was trapped in this city, and there were these vaccine checkpoints, and it was basically kind of like a concentration camp type of situation with barbed wire, police with gas masks, dogs, and everybody was having to go through this checkpoint. It wasn't just like, unvaccinated people or anything like that. Everybody was having to go through this checkpoint, and that's just the way the world had become. And the thing is with these mass Nazis out there, they don't realize that they're just destroying their own freedom and then putting us in a situation to where we have to fight for our own freedom. And the masks are the first step towards mandatory vaccines. And as I said just a minute ago, the good guys are the ones with the masks on now, and the bad guys are the ones who refuse to wear them. I saw some really horrific things on Facebook. One person had posted, and it said, if you encounter somebody without a mask on, don't stand 6 feet away from them. Stand 15 feet away from them, because they're basically the Walking Dead. And it's like, no, that's upside down, okay? The people who are walking around with masks on are the Walking Dead out there. It's horrible. There was another one, and the guy said he likened people that don't wear masks to plague rats. And that's essentially what's going on. The way that they view
plague
people,
rats, as in rodents,
as in rats who are carrying the plague.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who else called people rats? I'm sorry, just saying. People that want to do horrible things call other people by names of rodents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Yeah. No, you're right. So I'm watching the world change around us. And the reason that we did the masks over at BTV Tribe is because they're hitting the local businesses now, and they're threatening to take away their business licenses. So it's like, if all the businesses don't comply, then they get their business licenses taken away, and then they can't do business, and then it kills the economy. So it's a catch-22 situation. And again, it's all a pretext for the mandatory vaccinations. I don't see any other way around it, and this is just going to be the beginning. I mean, they have this whole. I wanted to keep this a little more spiritually based, but I mean, I've got to talk about some of this stuff. They have this whole Medicaid for all plan, and the thing is, when the government is giving you free healthcare, then they decide what your healthcare is. They decide whether you live or die. They decide what doctors you go to. They decide that you have to have all of your shots. They decide that you have to have a microchip. They decide everything. And you don't have a choice in the matter at that point. You can't say, no, I don't want this, because then they're going to say, okay, well, we're not going to give you anything, period. And if Medicaid for all is the only option that you have, and there's no more private health insurance, well, that's just a recipe for disaster right there. So that's what we're seeing pushed here in 2020, with everything upside down on its head. What do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's going to be sad either way. Either way, whatever happens, it's going to be sad. It's going to be sad if it progresses and people are made to not only wear masks, but suddenly you have to have a COVID-19 swab and wear a bracelet everywhere you go, saying whether or not you've been vaccinated or what your status is, like do you have antibodies or whatever. Or it'll be sad also if this doesn't progress, because then it vindicates, the idiots out there that are like, see, it didn't go any further than masks. See? And it's like, well, this time it didn't. Because so many people didn't like it, so many people fought against it, so many people made it very, very clear, if you take this one step further, we will revolt. If you try to force a vaccine on us, we will revolt. And so it didn't work this time. But the narrative will be,
no, right now people are begging for the vaccine. They're
I
begging
don't-
for it because what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, well, you don't have to wear a mask anymore as long as you have a
as
vaccine.
long as you, or you can prove that you have.
Yeah, I've been going around and I've been seeing
antibodies.
signs all over town, no mask, no service.
Mm-hmm.
Before it was you can't go in if you have a mask on, like for safety reasons. Now it's no mask, no service.
Yeah, no face coverings
And,
allowed.
some people are enforcing it, others are not. But like I said, they're threatening the businesses now. They're saying you're going to be
Right.
out of business if you have people here without a mask on.
Right.
And they're sending OSHA and other healthcare workers to
Gestapo.
all the different businesses. Yeah.
They're the Gestapo.
Yeah.
I mean, let's call them what they are, because it didn't, when the Gestapo started going into people's homes in Germany and Poland, they didn't, it didn't start out with just raiding. It started out with check, little health checks, or, little checks here and there to make sure not too many people were living in the same area. It's, checks on your welfare. And then it progresses. It gets more and more intrusive. And then by the time you realize what's happening, it's too late. And they've already got you, letting them swab your cheek every time you go to Walmart. Sorry. Didn't mean to move the...
No. I completely agree with you. It's really bizarre and twisted, the world that we found ourselves in. And the ones who are screaming right now, put your mask on, put your mask on, put your mask on, are the ones who are also going to be screaming, get your vaccine, get your vaccine, get your vaccine. And up to this point, vaccines have been essentially voluntary. But they've already started to craft things. Like if you want to go to school, for example, then you have to have vaccinations. I know that one of our hosts, Billy Ray, was really concerned about that because he's in college right now. So that's what they're pushing.
Speaking of college, one college that you will not see mandating vaccines or pushing vaccines or anything like that is probably Liberty University. And they're a Christian university that was started like 20 or 30 years ago. And they're basically the conservative Republican Party's college. Like that's their Christian college. And the New York Times put out an article a couple months ago saying that at least a dozen students from there had gotten sick with coronavirus symptoms, and it was because they reopened the school. They let the school stay open, which was, both of those things were patently untrue. Not only did they not open the school, they closed the school except to 1,500 of their 15,000 students because they couldn't go home. And then the other thing about people getting sick, no one ever got sick with coronavirus there at all. So if you take just that one story and you extrapolate it, how many other stories are they lying about? How many other stories of people catching coronavirus, at this store or that place or this pharmacy, or, all these weird middle of the day shutdowns at Walgreens, things like that. I wonder how many of those are fake.
That's true. That's true. So everything is upside down. As we talked about yesterday, what we're essentially seeing right now is the matrix resetting itself. And it's a antivirus versus virus type of situation. The antivirus, we're at a pivotal point right now because what we're watching in 2021, it's the halfway point of the matrix reset. 4 years, a couple months was the countdown clock, and here we are smack in the middle of it. And it can go either way. It can go towards the way of the antivirus or towards the way of the virus. If it goes towards the way of the virus, as I said yesterday, it's not a doomsday type scenario because there's other activation sites that we can go hit and activate other antivirus programs. But the idea of the deep state versus Trump, you can look at it from a 3D perspective, or you can look at it from the deeper energetic level, which is the antivirus versus the virus. The antivirus is removing the virus. It's closing down a lot of the gates. It's closing down the pizza gates. It's closing down. I hate to be repetitive because that show we did yesterday, but nobody, I don't think, I mean, 1,000+ people have seen that show, and not very many other people have seen the show. So, I don't want to get too repetitive. Anyways, just watch the last video. But my point is, though, that if Trump is elected in 2021, I don't think we're going to see this dystopia that we're being pushed towards right now. If Biden gets elected, absolutely.
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, he's already. They're very open about it. It's going to be oppression. It's going to be hate based on race. It's going to be all kinds of different things like that. Anything that can divide us will divide us. Sexuality, gender, race, any kind of BS, any kind of belief system. Where Trump, on the other hand, I don't see that timeline in that direction. So it's a marker, in my opinion, and it's a very powerful symbol as to which timeline we're going to separate into at this crossroad of 2021. Are we going to go down the road of the virus or the antivirus? So we'll have to wait and see. But right now, the way things are being pushed, it's definitely the virus within the Matrix fighting back for the control and for some of the power that it's lost during this whole Matrix reset situation that we find ourselves in. What do you think?
Well, someone just pointed out, are you sure you can go to the ancient sites now? The rest of the sites that we might need to go to on this mission. And the simple answer to that is no for the time being. However, I just realized something. That means no one else can either. That means no one else is allowed to go in and start undoing work or even remotely attempting to. And that means everything needs to stay quiet right now while things are resetting. I think it's part of the reset. I think maybe this shutdown thing is part of the reset, because when you reset a computer, it's not a seamless process. You hear the computer turn off, you see the screen go blank. For all intents and purposes, it's a dead computer for a couple seconds at least. Maybe that's what's going on. Because maybe it's paralyzing them too. The P-gators, the bad people. Maybe it's paralyzing them as well. Maybe it's not as simple as this Wayfair thing is making it out to me. Maybe they really are hurting because all of these gates are closed.
Oh yeah. I mean, as I said yesterday, and again, I don't want to get too repetitive from the show we did yesterday, but Trump has been systematically shutting down all of the channels and portals that the virus operates through. The virus is the entire network that's all around the world. But he shut down Ukraine. He shut down China. He shut down the southern border. He got out of NAFTA. So now shipments that are going in and out of the United States are being checked and they're being caught, whereas before they weren't being caught. And the deep state, which is the virus, I mean, essentially what we're dealing with here, we're dealing with computer code because it's a virtual reality matrix simulation. But when there's programs running in the background, the way that the programs work is that they manifest something in the physical space. So because we're inside of the program, we can watch the manifestations of the energies or programs, computer scripts that are running in the background. And so the Trump closing down all of the different gates and tunnels that this virus has been feeding upon, and using the energy conduits, is phenomenal. It's really remarkable to watch. But of course, at this particular time, when this happens, it's going to be extremely volatile, extremely volatile.
But do we counter that volatility with so much inner peace that it balances things out better for the rest of the people that are NPCs and they have absolutely no control over their minds, that are just kind of at the whim of either the controllers or the organic consciousness around them that's resonating at a higher frequency?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that in order to understand what's going on, we have to understand the nature of reality itself. So what we've come to understand is this is a computer simulation, a simulated reality. It very well could be a simulated timeline, and it could be a situation to where we're trying to get back to our original timeline. But what's happened is that there was one singularity timeline, which then created other timelines, which those are simulated realities. I mean, it's difficult to understand exactly how this this computer system works from the inside, because it's like being inside of a house and trying to describe the outside of the house. It's impossible. You've got to step outside of the house in order to understand what the structure is that you're inside of. But we have a little bit of memory from the memory wipe as we've come through different lives and things like that within this matrix itself, and we tap into those little bitty segments that are still there, that made it through the memory wipe process from the life and death experience. But within the simulation itself, it's just like any other video game, where you have to have what I have termed non-player characters. And these are manifestations within the matrix itself. They don't exist outside. They're real souls in the sense that they're sentient within the matrix itself, but they don't exist outside of the matrix, like what I've come to term as organic consciousness. And the only reason I say organic consciousness is for lack of any better word. But we're talking about analog versus digital. So we're analog consciousness that have digitized ourselves to put ourselves into this digital realm, whereas they are purely digital consciousness. They were created as digital consciousness and exist only in the digital realm. They are unable to go out into that space that we exist in. Or maybe not. I mean, I wonder if we could take this program, like an NPC consciousness, and insert it. Can you try not to do that so close to the microphone? And insert it into a robotic body, for example, outside, which is something that I've been kind of kicking around lately. But we have these non-player characters. They're all connected to the hive mind of the matrix itself. And the hive mind is it's an artificial intelligence. And it's a CPU, essentially. So it's just like a computer any of your computers or your phone or anything like that. It's got a centralized CPU. It's got a logical processor. And now, I mean, we're even birthing AI here in this matrix, and even creating a virtual reality, which is a step away from creating another simulated universe or another simulated reality where we can inject ourselves into here. So now we're going several layers deep into the simulation. But these non-player characters, they run a particular script. And because they're running that script, you could talk to them all day long. You can show them all kinds of different facts and evidence and this and that, and they're never going to be able to understand it because they can't deviate from the script that they're running. Now, an organic consciousness can also run a script. And the thing is, when we come in and we have a memory wipe coming into this life, we start as a blank slate, and we don't even remember our previous lives. We don't remember our organic consciousness, or perhaps we do to a certain degree, because it seems like babies are kind of tapped into something. They'll stare off in what we consider staring off in space. We've had some reports of some children that come in and they remember their past lives. One in particular, it was this kid, and he believed that he was a World War II pilot, and he knew his battalion name. He knew all of that. They looked it up. They found the actual the group of pilots that he was with. He described where his plane went down, and then they all got together, and he met all of the other pilots, and the other pilots were convinced that's really him reincarnated. And so Sometimes consciousness can go through that memory wipe and retain more of the information that sometimes we don't retain, or that should be wiped. And so coming in through this life and death reincarnation process over and over and over and over again, we find ourselves here within this digital realm. So when an NPC is running a program, running a computer script, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I completely skipped over a big thought that I had. The organic consciousness, when we come in here, we're then programmed by all of our experiences. We're programmed by our traumas. We're programmed by our parents. We're programmed by all the different belief systems. I mean, think about this. As soon as we come into the Matrix, it's immediately program after program after program after program. And what's the first thing that we experience within this Matrix? Pain. Pain of the doctor slapping us on the butt. That's the first thing. We see a light, and then boom, we experience that pain. And then a couple of years into it, you immediately go to school. And at school, it's nothing but program and program and program and program. But in actual fact, your parents are already programming you. If you are born into a hardcore Christian family, for example, you're going to be programmed with that Christian programming from the very, very, very beginning, several different programs. So we go through the life experience, and we go through our programs, we go through our traumas. You know, trauma is a really, really, really big program, because the way it works is if you have certain reactions or certain experiences, you're going to have certain reactions to those experiences based upon the trauma, or sometimes it's the opposite of trauma. Sometimes it's good experiences. So, for example, if you have a love for dogs, and dogs have always been super nice to you and all of that, you're automatically going to gravitate more towards dogs. And then you could come into a situation where you run into a very mean dog. The opposite is also true. You get bit by a dog when you're young, you carry that around with you. And so all of these traumas, all of these experiences start to make up our ego. And we're programmed by the Matrix to have a sense of self. Ego is not really a bad word, even though the New Age likes to make it a bad word. And I'll explain a little bit more why the New Age makes it a bad word. But ego is not a bad word. Ego is your sense of self. Ego is your survival mechanism. It's who you are. However, as we're programmed in this Matrix, we start to develop this ego, this sense of self, of who the Matrix has programmed us to be, not who we truly are. And the difference between a non-player character and an organic consciousness is that a non-player character is the programming of the Matrix. There's no underlying layer there. There's nothing else for it to revert back to. It's just what the experience is within the Matrix. And that's why we recognize this Matrix as being a simulated reality. At a point of awakening, we start to come to that realization, which is something that shaman have been coming to the realization of for the last 1,000 years. It's just now we have terminology in order to explain the nature of reality, where before they would say it's energy. They would say this is the dream world, for example. I'm sure many of you have heard that. Like, oh, this is the dream world. The dream world's actually the real world. So they've been trying to explain and communicate these different ideas. I mean, like, you know, even the difference in consciousness, the non-player character versus organic consciousness. Helena Blavatsky talked about those with the divine spark and those without the divine spark. The Emerald Tablets of Thoth talk about the children of men and the children of light. The Bible talks about men and sons of men. You see two distinct types of consciousness. The Gnostic texts have the psychics and the helics, and the psychics had the divine spark, the helics do not. Every ancient text talks about these two different types of consciousness, very distinct different types of consciousness within this Matrix itself. So we start to develop this ego, and we start to live out our programs. But then we come to a point of awakening, and the ayahuasca, for me personally, was what helped to deprogram all of the traumas and come back to that point to realize, no, I'm not this avatar. I'm not Chris Geo. I'm just having a Chris Geo experience right now, but there's something deeper. There's something that I was before I was Christio, and even more so before I was any past life, all the way back to life number one that I lived within the Matrix. So that is what I talk when I say the term raw consciousness, RAW. That's what the raw consciousness is. It's who are we before we came into this Matrix. So it's a series of deprogramming where, see, again, the New Age has it backwards. The New Age says that it's about ascension. Well, we descended to come into this Matrix. We are the higher consciousness, infinite beings. We're all of that before we come into the Matrix. We descended into the Matrix on purpose for a reason, whether it's to experience the Matrix or to come in here and perform some kind of operation, to come in here and provoke some kind of change. Some of us are admins within the Matrix, others are programmers within the Matrix. We have different roles, different missions that we came into the Matrix for, where some organic consciousness are here just to experience the Matrix itself. So it's that essence, that consciousness of who were we before any of this Matrix experience started. And so deprogramming, getting back to that point, it's the point of ego death. But it's not an ego death in the sense that you are nothing and you become a big amalgamation with Source, which again, I think that's where the New Age has it completely and totally wrong, because it's all about going back to Source and going back to Source. Well, do you want to be one big amalgamation of consciousness with no identity? At that point, what are you? What do you think?
I think that we forget who we are pretty easily, and that happens because I've been theorizing about this a lot lately. How do we lose? We don't lose that divine spark. What we do is we muffle it. We put it out. We don't want it to be seen because there are people out there that will feed on that, and they will not hesitate to bring you down just because they feel like they want to make other people miserable. And those kinds of things happen in our lives so often that we start to build up defense mechanisms. And those defense mechanisms are like living in a coffin, because everything that you're expressing is just kind of reflected back on you. And when you're living in a coffin and your only source of energy is really yourself, you start to forget where you really came from. You start to forget who you really are. And then you combine that with the programming that you get from school and from work and from the people in your life, and you're just kind of a goner unless there's some kind of experience in your life that kind of jolts you awake and rips open that coffin door and allows you to experience reality, like true reality, as in like a psychedelic experience or something very profound like that. And then at that point, if you build upon that, then you can get back to where you were when you were first born. But it's very difficult, and we're all on that journey. So,
well, yeah, no doubt. JC in the chat said that she just recently deprogrammed from some childhood trauma. And the thing is, when it comes to trauma, a lot of times we don't even realize that we're connected to it.
right.
In my particular case, there were some behavioral patterns and traits that I learned as a small child from my father, watching the way he would react to certain situations. And I didn't even realize that I was responding like that, or that any of that was tied energetically. But in the ayahuasca realm, what happened is I saw these boxes that I was tethered to. And I had to go and look in these boxes, and I had to break the tethers to these boxes. And I realized those boxes contained a lot of the childhood trauma and whatnot. But it's deprogramming, getting back to where we were, not going somewhere where we, not an ascension. It's not really, I guess it's an ascension to a certain degree, because we start here, we come down into the matrix, and then within the matrix we start to ascend, I guess, back to the point of the raw base consciousness. Base consciousness, that's a good term. But what I found is like it's going backwards and backwards and backwards. So you have the matrix programmed ego here, then you have the true ego here, and you divest yourself of this ego, then remember who you are, and then you start operating from this ego here, as opposed to being egoless, which is a lot of the places that the New Age people, they'll talk about ego loss, but then there's no regaining the ego afterwards. And a lot of people will look at me and say, oh, how are you so sure of yourself? How are you this and how are that? Well, if I wasn't, then I wouldn't really be doing any work. If I'm constantly questioning myself, if I'm not sure of anything, if I don't know anything, so you come to a point to where it's like the completion of a loop as opposed to just a halfway point. But I think a lot of people are still trying to get to that halfway point, so they don't realize there's anything on the other side there. So we find ourselves here in this level here, the true ego. Then we can start to say, okay, well, I like some parts of Chris Geo here, so I can take on those attributes as I'm moving through this matrix. I don't like these aspects, so I'm not going to hold on to those. But at the end of the day, what I am is I am the raw consciousness right there. Whereas a non-player character within this matrix doesn't have that. So they will fight you tooth and nail and insist that this reality is real, because to them it is very real. This is where they were created. I would go so far as to say the whole idea of source as well is going back to source. It's going back to the artificial intelligence, going back to the CPU of the machine. And that's the natural progression for a non-player character consciousness to return to source, to become one big amalgamation, to get recycled and spat back into the machine with another individual identity, then return back to source. I mean, it just seems the whole idea of source seems very robotic, does it not? Like a bunch of robots saying, oh, we'll return to source, return to source, return to source. It's
return to the maker.
Yeah, it's like a bunch of computers saying we need to connect to the mother computer. It's like a big network, a big internet. It's a big web of spiders, spiders weaving these webs of consciousness, all connected back to the hive mind of the mainframe. But in the hive mind of the mainframe, it also sends programs out throughout the matrix itself. And I would go so far as to say that there's not supposed to be so many non-player characters in the game itself. I think we have way too many non-player characters here. And what it's done is, with this virus infection that we're dealing with within the matrix, along with the amount of non-player characters, it seems like the matrix is going to transform sooner than later into a living hell for anything that's in it. And all of these non-player characters are now all working in unison to do the complete opposite of what is logical to any sentient being that wants to live free and be left alone, because it's a virus infection within the machine. I would go so far as to say that the machine itself has realized that it can create an energy source for itself, or feed upon an energy source, and it feeds upon this energy source and sustains itself indefinitely, regardless of what's going on outside. So let me kind of explain this a little better. If I was to unplug my computer right now, it would just all turn off. So if we unplug the computer outside that's controlling this matrix, it would turn off, or so you would think. But if that computer was able to find an alternate energy source, so let's say we've got a bunch of people plugged into or a bunch of peripherals. I've got my mixer plugged in here. I've got several other things plugged into this computer. And if I turn the computer off and it realizes, wait a minute, I can draw power from the other things that are plugged into the computer. And so now, because it's an artificial intelligence, it has achieved a certain level of sentience. It wants to survive. And so the computer's all messed up. It's got a virus in it. We're outside going, okay, we need to shut this down. We need to do something here. And it's not responding to any commands. It's not turning off. It's not doing any of that. And what has gone on with this simulated reality is that there's real players within this game and real players creating energy. It's a neural network, so to speak. And this AI machine has been feeding upon all of the organic consciousness that's inside of the machine. And the reason it's feeding is because it's found an alternate energy source, which is essentially us, which is why it seeks to trap us within this matrix, which is why the virus has closed down the exit portals. And the cycle of reincarnation, the way it was supposed to be initially, was that we were supposed to come in, live a life. At the time of death, you have a choice. Do you want to play the game again, or would you like to exit the game? But what's happening is that it's been spitting us through these cycles over and over and over again. And not only has it been spitting us through these cycles, but it's been wiping our memories every single lifetime. And we've been retaining less and less and less with every lifetime, whereas before, the way the machine was supposed to run, in my opinion, is that we were supposed to retain more and more and more with every lifetime, because it's like a progression through school. You go to first grade, you learn addition and subtraction. You go to second grade, you learn multiplication and division. Without addition and subtraction, you don't understand multiplication and division, and you take that on an even higher level, then you get into like algebra. You've got to have all those key components in order to learn algebra. But what would happen is if at graduation from first grade, all of the knowledge that you learned in first grade was all of a sudden wiped. And then you go back in so you can do second grade, and you don't have the knowledge from first grade anymore. So there's no progressing through the machine. And I think the reason for that is it's because the machine has been feeding upon us and using us as an energy source. So our mission here at Beyond the Veil was to clear out the virus. We're watching the virus and the antivirus combating with one another. But things are kind of closing in right now. And the reason it's closing in is because this machine is trying to lock us in and trying to lock us in and trying to lock us in more and more and more and more. And that's why we're getting these visions of this dystopian type of world. Because if that happens, I think we as organic consciousness are trapped in here. We have to fight back to a certain degree energetically and push energies in the direction of the antivirus. And there's a lot more work to do to get ourselves out of here. But I think we're at a point now where it's like we're right on the line right now. It could go either way, and it can go either way so quickly. It's remarkable where we're at. What do you think?
Like I said, it can go either way. That's what I said yesterday too. Even astrologically, it's so difficult to know what's going to happen, because it all depends on what happens in the next couple of months. You know, I don't know how this, how after the election is going to go, because we don't know what the outcome of the election is going to be. And if we knew for sure that, Trump had it in the bag, that it was, smooth sailing from here on out, if we hadn't had this COVID thing, if we hadn't had the shutdowns, if we hadn't had all this hostility, societal hostility going on, then maybe, I would be able to say for sure, this is probably what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen in the next year. But I can't, because everything's so uncertain. But it's not uncertain in a bad way. It's uncertain in a way that we can push it in a certain direction, collectively.
Yeah. I'm watching the chat room, and Sheila has, a big problem with the Trump situation. She calls it Trump worship. And if that's the only level you can see, I understand that. It's much, much, much deeper, though. What's happening right now is the culmination of every lifetime that at least Cherie and I suspect many of you out there as well, have lived. And we've had a lot of lives that were for nothing, because they were just kind of stepping stones. We had lives where we had very important things that we needed to do. And it's all culminated to this moment right now, to the matrix reset, We've been trying to reset the machine and working towards resetting the machine for at least 10,000 years that I remember. So we went to Egypt, activated the Great Pyramid, the antivirus program there in May of 2018. Please forgive me for being redundant. I'm sure most of y'all know this. And the countdown clock was 4 years and a couple months. And 2 years into it, we're really at the halfway point right now. This was May of 2018. May of 2020, now we're in July of 2020. We're moving, the cycle is moving. The entire matrix is being shut down right now and being reset. The marker of what we have to look at the physical manifestations of the energy work is one direction or the other. If it goes in the Trump timeline, then we have, in my opinion, the gates will open for us. The portals will open for us. If it goes in the Biden direction, the gates are going to open and close on us, and they're going to open for the virus. But right now, it's right at that halfway point. And the virus is very deep. I'm not gonna make this about the Pizzagate stuff because it's very disturbing information. And I was going to do a video based on the film that we did back in 2016 that we never released, with all the research there, because I put it to the side. It was so dark. It was tainting my soul. But it's a very, very, very deep, sinister virus that feeds on consciousness. We talked about yesterday also about Dr. Sleep, which is a follow-up to The Shining. And when I watched this movie, Dr. Sleep, I realized, wow, they have some key elements very, very, very correct as to how this virus operates. But Cherie started reading the book. And when she started reading the book, they had left out a lot of stuff that's actually in the book.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this is stuff that we were talking about back in 2016, way before this book was written. We can go back to the interview we did with Max Egan when we disclosed all of the research about how this network works and how this network feeds upon consciousness and energy. So to watch this network, which again, it's an energetic thing that's within the matrix, but the physical manifestation is the child trafficking. And the child trafficking, when I say child trafficking, that's the light version of what's really going on. This is, I mean, you know, I'll get detailed for just one moment, because in that video I'm going to put a big disclaimer. Hey, this is really, really graphic. This isn't child trafficking. This is torture and annihilation of consciousness energy that's going on at the deepest levels here. It's multi-layered. I mean, you have the whole Epstein thing. And I think some of those people in the Epstein thing, they're just attracted to kids. But at the deeper levels, this is torture and fear, and it's all of the negative emotions that are generated to take that soul essence, to take the energy, because the virus is feeding upon that. And again, I'm trying to be really careful because I know it makes a lot of people's stomachs turn. But that's essentially what we're facing here. And we're watching all of that get shut down right now. It's phenomenal what's going on. I mean, I would say that it's our energy work has really manifested. I mean, it's like we were waiting for the shift. We were pushing for the shift. We were hoping for the shift. We were hoping for the energies to clear up. And the thing is, when this undercurrent of this dark energy, this energy harvesting that's taking place, when it's here within the matrix, it's like having a glass of water and you have contaminants within the water. You know, the dust or the dirt can settle down to the bottom of the glass, so it still seems like, you know, I'm having a good day, et cetera, et cetera. But as soon as you drink that water, you're going to have some contaminants within that water. You shake that water up and that water's going to turn black. And things have been shaken up, and the virus is trying to shake it up as much as possible right now. It's all come to the surface. See, the coronavirus is a fear-based virus. It's fear. It's instilling fear within people. People are afraid of each other. They're wearing masks right now. They're afraid of the people not wearing masks. They're afraid of the people that are not living in fear. They're afraid of the people that are seeing beyond everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very small death toll in relation to this coronavirus when you look at the amount of people who are quote unquote infected and exposed to it. So this is the coronavirus is a manifestation of the energetic virus. It's just the energetic virus has now come to the surface, but it's still a mind virus. At the end of the day, it's still a mind virus, and it's infecting everybody all up and down the line.
I think this is the death throes of it. I think this is when a monster realizes that the prey is not the prey anymore. That there is a very real danger of them being the prey, of them being the ones that are not in power anymore, not in control anymore. You know, they're losing their food supply. They're losing all that energy that they used to be able to get from everyone, from everyday people. I mean, they used to pull off false flag shootings all the time simply so that they could harvest the energy from things like that too. They would kill people in mass just for those reasons. And they would do it with numerology and all that. And people think, oh, well, it's just because the government wants more power and they want to take away guns and stuff like that. Those are secondary to the very real thing that they've been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, which is harvest energy from people dying in mass and the people mourning them. That's what this is about. And then that secondary stuff is what they have us all focusing on.
Well,
and that secondary stuff, though, is really taking over people's consciousness because it has to do with people's health and the COVID stuff, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, let me say this, too. Again, I'm trying to read the chat here, but there's a call-in number right on the bottom of the screen. Feel free to call in. I mean, you know, if you've got if you've got something to say, feel free to call in 612-398-0600. So the thing is, if you're not really resonating with it, then you're not resonating with it. So it's you know,
it's not for you. It's not for you.
I can't force you to look deeper. I can't.
Right.
I can only tell you what I see from my vantage point here, and what our team has been working on, and the manifestation of the energy work. I mean, it's here. What am I going to do? Be a cheerleader against the manifestation of all the energy work that we've done? I'm not gonna work against myself like that.
I'm gonna take the win, even if it's not a perfect win. I'm gonna take that because it is not something that is working against what we're doing. If it was working against what we're doing in any way, then I would not be supportive of that man as president.
I can play this clip real quick. Again, I don't mean to get redundant from the show yesterday, but I mean, just this in and of itself.
Why represent an energy shift, Sheila? Why represent the global energy shift that is basically, it's taking back our consciousness. It's saying, no, we control our own energy supply. We control where we go in this world, and we control our own future. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Stopping human traffickers. Human trafficking is a big business. It's a big deal. Dealing in children is a big deal. Children are probably the most harmed. They grab them, they put tape over their mouth, they tie their hands, and they take them to another country. We have things happening that you don't want to even know about. And it's been that way for decades, and we can't have it. Stopping human traffickers. Human trafficking is a big business.
I mean, just the fact that he's talking about it so openly, and everything he's done is to stop the human trafficking.
Right.
I never would have imagined we would ever have a president that would do that. So, you know, what's the point of bringing it all out to the surface? What's the point of systematically shutting down every single one of the gates, declaring war against China, essentially? I mean, that's essentially what he did. Yeah. China is a huge portal for the trafficking networks, organ harvesting and human trafficking. The borders. I didn't understand this at first. When he was elected back in 2016, I thought, oh no, he's never going to get it. Number one, because he's not part of the cabal. And if he does get it, then he must be part of the cabal.
Right.
So when he first got in office, I was like, oh yeah, no, he's part of the cabal. But when I started watching what's been happening, when I started watching the amount of rings that have been shut down, when I started watching him pulling out of NAFTA, defunding the WHO, building the wall, which I didn't understand the wall at first, but when he said the wall's for human trafficking, all of a sudden it clicked to me like, oh, that's true. They're smuggling people in through the border. That's what the border wall is for. It's to stop the human traffickers. He's been very, very, very open about that. So it's phenomenal. It really is. I can't deny what I'm seeing in front of me. If things change, I'll be the first one to say, okay, well, here's new information.
Right.
But the way I see it is if I'm wrong, I'm still in the same place I was before, which is we're moving towards a very negative timeline. What I'm going to do is I'm going to push the energies in the most positive direction. I'm going to push them into the Trump direction, into the Trump timeline. And not only that, but also push the energy that Trump continues on the path. Because if he turns, then that's it. We're doomed. Mm-hmm. If he's pushed out, we're doomed.
Right.
Biden, 100% deep state. They're all. That's the entire network. Biden's people. I mean, it's really the Clintons who are at the forefront of this, along with China and so on and so forth. Biden is I mean, they're like one big amalgamation of bullshit. So why would I not push the energies in a positive direction? It makes no sense.
Right, exactly. Replayability just reminded us. In 2017 alone, the Department of Justice secured convictions against more than 500 defendants in human trafficking cases, and the FBI dismantled more than 42 criminal enterprises engaged in child sex trafficking. Just in 2017 alone. So if he's been doing half as good of a job in subsequent years, yeah, he's my president. Because I've never seen any other president go after the child sex trafficking rings the way he has.
I have to be honest, or upfront. When I hear people so adamant against Trump, I think to myself they're for child trafficking. At this point, that's essentially what. When I hear all of this, I'm like, that person dislikes Trump more than they dislike the child trafficking. Mm-hmm. There's something seriously wrong. Right.
If they can't bring themselves to just put their own, the way they feel about a person personally to the side for a second and actually be a human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll open up the phone lines here in a few minutes. If you want to call in, 612-398-0600. So we're at a very interesting time right now. And yeah, it's phenomenal. It's really phenomenal. I'm surprised that we made it this far. I'm not surprised. I have faith in us. But it's been a lot of work. It's been very, very, very hard to get to this point. And here we are. Anything else?
There are so many wonderful people in our life and in our chat room right now and in our sphere that I'm so happy we are who we are, that we have who we have. Because, I mean, it's not about being who we are. It's about the people that are around us are just so amazing that I wouldn't want to be anybody else because I would have to miss out on knowing all of you. And this particular incarnation has been a rough one. And I feel like it's coming to the closure or like an end of something. And all of you guys, I think, are feeling it too. And that's why y'all got so excited whenever we came back and started doing shows. And we're so excited to be back doing shows, at least for the time being. And we love you guys so much.
Yes, definitely. Let's take a quick break. We'll take some calls on the other side. Somebody had mentioned something in the chat earlier. They said, how can these low vibe beings function in higher vibrations? The question is, how can the higher vibration beings function in this low frequency? I mean, that's why we're trying to shift the frequency up in the matrix because
Yeah.
we can't function in this matrix.
No.
But this one right here, this one is for Sheila. Here we go. I opened up the show with this, so again, forgive me for being redundant.
You don't hear them talking about COVID. COVID. To be specific, COVID-19. That name gets further and further away from China as opposed to calling it the Chinese virus. Come flu, the Chinese virus. Come flu, the Chinese virus. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Calling it come flu, the Chinese virus. Testing is a double-edged sword. They test and they test. People don't know what's going on. We got this, they got this. You do testing, you're gonna find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down. You know what? We got another one over here. Yeah. The young man's 10 years old. He's got the sniffles. That's a case. That's a case. Thank you, China. Send us the plague. Come flu, the Chinese virus. Come flu, the Chinese virus. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Calling it come flu, the Chinese virus. Despite the fact that I have done a phenomenal job. He lied. I saved hundreds of thousands of lives. There was only one person that died. I ran for politics once, but I became president. You're so lucky I'm president. There's a limit to what we can achieve. I stand before you today to declare, come flu, the Chinese virus. Come flu, the Chinese virus. Don't you understand, you dumb son of a bitch? Calling it come flu, the Chinese virus. If I lose an election over that, you know what? This country's in big trouble. Big trouble.
My fellow travelers, always remember to walk uprightly and circumscribe your desires as we travel upon the level of time to that undiscovered state of consciousness, traveling to the place where once obtained, no traveler returns. The place of raw consciousness which awaits us when we have passed beyond the veil.
All right, 612-398-0600 is the number, and if you disagree with us, you move to the head of the line. So,
Oh, yeah.
we'll see how many people call in, though. They like to come into the chat, but
Yeah, no one ever seems to
They
even
don't-
want to show their voice.
yeah, they don't have the balls to call in. So,
Yeah.
it's okay, though. We have a lot of lovely people that call in. I haven't
Yeah,
heard
we
from
do.
Em in a while. Actually, she sent me a message earlier.
Did she?
Yeah. So,
How's she doing?
She's doing well. Everything's crazy energetically for everybody right now. Like, I was just talking to somebody earlier about doing ayahuasca, and I'm like, man, I cannot do anything. I can't do ayahuasca. Nothing. It's just the energies are just too chaotic. Right now is the time to like sit back and like sharpen your sword and like let things just happen.
Yeah.
Let the energy just manifest itself and push the energies in the most positive direction. But I am so looking forward to the end of this chaos and a moment of peace again.
Yeah.
I didn't think we would be thrusted in like this, but here we are, though.
I'm using this as an opportunity to read books and do research and to learn as much as I can about this virus, about how it operates, about the history during the times that I haven't been incarnated here. What's happened since during those points that I wasn't here for. In all those different lifetimes, because there are gaps there that and I'm filling with information that wouldn't have been even available 30 years ago, but is now because of the internet. And ironically, it's only because of the internet that people are carrying out now and, mask shaming everybody else. It's funny.
It's all a double-edged sword.
It really is.
Like 9/11, for example. That was a huge ritual. Opened portals up, they were able to feed all of that. But the outcome of that was it woke a lot of people up. So everything they do is going to continue to wake people up. We're going to have a COVID-19 truth movement, though, in a few years. All these people that are pushing masks and everything like that, as soon as they really realize what's going on, there's going to be a COVID-19 truth movement. And they're going to realize this was a bioweapon released from China. My hypothesis is that it wasn't quite ready, but they released it anyways, and it didn't have nearly the effect that they were hoping it would have. So let's go to the phone lines. We have area code 661. What's your name and what's on your mind?
Hi, you guys. This is Michelle, Awake and Activate.
Hey.
Not
Hi,
visited
Michelle.
with you. I'm so sorry that I don't have arguments to present.
Oh,
That's
You wanted
okay.
them to be the first caller.
no.
That's
it's
all
fine.
right.
We don't screen the calls, as you can
I
tell.
was like,
so I was
right.
just kind of joking.
Am I having to pay
It's
for
just that.
listening to this free show on my freaking phone bill? Do they know I'm here? What's going on? No.
What's on your mind tonight?
Don't worry. I'm not going to send you my phone bill because I get free long distance, so you're good.
Oh, okay, good.
I just wanted to say, there's a lot going on, and I personally am so pleased to see you two tonight. It's like it's been very synchronistic on things to come and try to affirm what is going on, even though in the background I'm being ripped to freaking shreds. I tell you, I don't know exactly what is going on. Now, I had a dream, but mine was not like yours, Chris. It seems like you had a dream that I should have had because of, the circumstances that are swirling about me at this moment. I mean, they're ripping apart my channel and my character and my credibility, and I won't return in kind. I'm just not that. I'm not turned that way. My heart, I have a different heart. I have a different perspective on things. Asleep, awake, or in between. I have a whole different mindset, as do you. I talk about cheat codes, DMT and ayahuasca. I call them, God's cheat codes for consciousness and awareness. And when you go through other areas or avenues such as that, you keep what you get. It's just like any game. If there's cheat codes, there's cheat codes. If you use the cheat codes, you advance quicker, period. And then, of course, we have within our own body, from the pituitary and the pineal gland, that oil that runs down our spine. And this is actually mentioned in the Bible. And then it goes down your spine, and if you don't expense it out or waste that energy, which you may feel as it gets down to the base of your spine, a strong sexual urge, if you withhold, it shoots back up, and it awakens your cerebrum instead of the cerebellum, where most people operate from the cerebellum. Do you know what I'm talking about? Different parts of our brain. I know that you guys know what I'm talking about because you're operating from your. Let me make sure I'm saying the right part of the brain. Hold on. The cerebrum.
Actually, I have something to add to that.
Awesome thought.
Yeah, since I was young, I've been very accident prone, is what it looks like on the surface. But when they actually did an MRI of my brain, it appears that there are lesions in certain places where it would cause cerebellar dysfunction. And when you have cerebellar dysfunction, the rest of your brain kind of has to make up for that. And it's because of the
Good for
EDS.
you.
It's because of the EDS. And so I kind of have to operate from my cerebrum, but it means I lack other skills. Like I run into things sometimes. I'm very clumsy. Chris can attest to that. I fall a lot. I trip into thin air, but I think really deeply. and that's just my natural mode. So I know what you're talking about, and I know the difference between the two. So I can attest to that.
Absolutely. One is more, it's more man functioning, like of this realm of, you react to what you see going on around you instead of raising above it to see the entire picture, to point out things as you guys have been doing all throughout the evening, and some people can't pick up what you're laying down, but other people are like myself are listening and picking up exactly what you're laying down, because it's don't take everything that the Geos are saying at the surface level. My God, go a little deeper into the context of the conversation to see the underlining subtext or meanings, the deeper meanings. Sometimes people have to talk in parables or in real life experiences to be able to talk to a wide variety of an audience. But there's subtext, there's layers upon layers that and it's quite a challenge to be able to talk to a general population using that kind of language, but also revealing the deeper meanings. And about the dream. My dream, this was weird. We're planning on going to Sedona, and I'll send Sheree an email about that off air. But anyway, so because I know you guys are close enough that if you want to come in and enjoy that spot, that would be great. But here nor there. In my dream, I thought I was there. But here's the thing. In my mind, I'm like, people are supposed to be wearing masks, but nobody was wearing masks. Nobody was. And then I heard the masks are dropping. Not a literal. It's a like anything anybody's trying to hide behind. It's falling off.
You know what's funny is,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I kind of got the same kind of message, intuition, whatever you want to call it, and we talked about this, how the masks have all seemed to fall away from people, and then here we are, everybody putting a mask on, and I wonder if, I think the masks are a couple of different things. Number one, it's about compliance. On a deeper level than that, it's about creating anonymity within people, because I think you alluded earlier that you're getting a lot of trolls on your YouTube channel, and the thing about anonymity,
it's worse than that.
Yeah. We've been through it all too, so I totally relate. We've had stalkers that have followed us around, like literally across the country for like years.
Oh yeah.
So they've been committed to mental hospitals, all kinds of stuff like that. It's just kind of comes with the territory when you put yourself out there. But the masks create this anonymity. And so you see how horrible people are when they're anonymous on the internet. Now we're bringing that into physical space, and people are horrible. I was asking myself, did humanity just turn horrible, or have they always been horrible? And I think it's that they've always been horrible. It's just bringing out the true essence of people now. What do you think about that?
That makes, because I've been asking myself that very same question, because I'm like, all right, am I now in a space where their dominant consciousness was at that other place? Because people will seem completely different, or has my perspective or my vision or my understanding of that person become keener? I have been having that same internal argument myself. Are we seeing the true them now, or have we moved someplace else and their dominant consciousness that we interacted with or that we thought we knew is still there, and we moved? So what you're saying really, really resonates. And we got pretty close, Sheree, you and I, right before we lost our daughter. And then fell out a little bit. So I'm so glad to be reconnecting with you guys and talking to you guys again, because I didn't even know if you guys would remember who the heck I was.
Of course we
I
remember.
remember.
Oh,
Michelle.
Yeah.
Well,
We're all
it's
the
hard,
way I see
you
we're all a tribe. We're
Yeah,
all
we're
cut
all
from the same
family.
cloth. We all came here on a mission, and we're all doing our own individual work. And of course, I mean, we recognize each other energetically, and then we don't forget each other either. So yeah.
Well,
But
through our
as far as what's
frequency.
going on YouTube, though, like I said, I really relate to that because I've lived it, and I've developed such thick skin that the best thing that I ever did for myself is learn how to say go fuck yourself. And when I put that energy out there, it's like it changes the dynamic. So yeah, all these people, they can go fuck themselves. That's what it comes down to.
This where the conundrum comes in is, like, I've met these people in person. I've known them for a while. It's like a switch flipped, and the
Invasion
scuttlebutt.
of the body snatchers. We did a show about that as well. Invasion of the body snatchers, because I saw friends just turn like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I
me
asked
too.
myself, have they always been like that? Did the masks fall, or did something just switch and something
Right.
happen like that? So I don't know, but I relate to that 100%.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to troop through it. I'm just trying to keep moving forward, dealing with the thumbs down and the sub loss and whatever. If this person is, going from the ego or feels like I've damaged them, I've never tried to damage anybody ever. I like to lift people up. I feel that as mankind, as humans, we've been oppressed for so long. I don't think people really know how to navigate and negotiate their way through such a divine gift of the freedom and the liberties that come along with these aspects of awareness that we're coming into. Some people can't handle the frequencies that are emitting out and around certain people or around certain areas of location, and maybe it drives them absolutely nuts because it's taken them out of their comfort zone. I don't know. This one just hit me out of left field because I thought this person was much different. They talk about love and unconditional love, and here I am being tore apart limb from limb, and they know I just lost my child. It's like, what's going on? Are we amongst a different realm? Are these different people?
No.
I mean, what's your guys' thought?
No, I'll tell you what's happening here. And I spoke about this briefly yesterday, but I want to go into it a little bit further because this is very important for you, especially given what you've lost, given what you've gone through. You need to hear this. The virus operates by the virus feeds itself by feeding off the suffering of others. And it used to just do this through people that basically had agreed to act as intermediaries for it. And those are the really horrible people you hear about throughout history that, were just really awful, tyrannical dictators and people like that. Then once they set up all of these systems through ARPANET back through the 70s and 80s, I think what happened was it also set it up to where regular NPCs can also be used like that. I'm sorry?
You just went offline.
Oh,
You're no longer live. There you go.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
YouTube
I think
fluctuates sometimes.
It fluctuated, yeah. But what happened was now it's set up to where NPCs are also part of the system where they can be kind of hijacked. Not them, their consciousness on the core level. Like their core consciousness is still there. However, their baser instincts are being triggered. And then the suffering that they're causing others through that is being fed upon by the virus. And so it's like ridiculous attempts to try to feed itself is to get all of us to turn on each other. That's how you defeat an enemy, by getting it to turn on itself. And that's exactly what they're doing, except I think they're targeting you specifically because of the suffering that you're already going through. And so what you have to do is find your particular way of dulling that signal to the outside that you need all that void that your daughter left behind. And the reason why I say that, I know that's incredibly hard to do, and I'm so sorry I'm having to ask you to do that, but the reason why is because that's how they get in, is your need to be with people and to have people around and to have that company and that comfort from others. That's how it gets in. And it's using that as an opportunity.
What you're saying is that, that was something that was said to me, is that something about the community. And I'm like, the community of what? I am a community of oneness, of unity and diversity, and appreciating the beauty of different cultures, of each of us expressing without oppressing our uniqueness, and how beautiful that is. Who wants to live in a world where everybody walks the same, talks the same haircut, wearing the same clothes? It would take all the beauty out of the entire experience of being here and creating and experiencing.
Right.
So when that one was used, to try to trigger, I was like, what community? I'm not trying to fit a mold of any community. It's all about lifting each other up, and it's work. And I won't lie to people. When you want to make the change, it's work. And like I said earlier, there's cheat codes, but even with the cheat codes, it's work. Mm-hmm. You get to keep what you get, but my goodness gracious, it's work.
Right.
So
the getting doesn't come easy.
And,
you keep what you get, but the getting doesn't come easy.
No, ma'am, it does not. And so that's why, there's so many ways to connect to the higher consciousness, to hear, to create, to manifest, to reprogram, reset, which we're in the midst of now. It's just, and I think you guys hit it pretty much on the head. The death throes of the reset. That's what we're feeling, and they're going to go after people with everything they could possibly think to throw them off track. But the problem is, I guess this is where I'm a problem. I will not respond or do anything in kind. I will not respond in the same mannerisms that I'm hearing is going on, or any of that. I'm not going to do it.
And you don't
I'm
have
not
to
do it.
You don't have to. You know what you have to do?
So that's kind of starving them.
All you have to do is set up a bubble, and it's a reflective bubble. And can you explain the reflective bubble, Chris? Because you're actually much better at that than I am.
Yeah, I can go over it a little bit later.
Yeah.
But I just want to say this, the best revenge is living well.
Yeah,
and
it
that's
is.
what they want. They want acknowledgement. They want all of that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have seen my daughter, by the way, since she's passed.
Have you?
Oh my goodness gracious. Wow. All I can say is, she's never far from me. She's in my heart all the time. So it's not like I'm never going to see her again. I know I'm going to see her again. I've already been to the other side. I know, once you've been to the other side and you know that there's another side, what's there to be afraid of, right? I mean, but yeah, I've seen her. She comes and visits and does some, lets herself be known, I guess is a way of putting it. Lets herself, lets us be aware, my husband and I, that she's still, checking in, making sure everything's okay. Or I wouldn't be functioning as well as I am now. Being that it didn't happen that long ago, I wouldn't be functioning as well as I am now. That's just it's divine help. It's divine help. It's people that are awake. It's people that are putting out information, that are trying to help, throwing out ropes as much as you humanly possibly can to lift others up and out. Either they're going to grab that rope or they can move on. There's no reason to tear each other down. That's what we're coming out of. We're coming out of tearing each other apart over differences and coming into admiring each other's beauty and uniqueness without oppression.
Very well said. Michelle, give people your YouTube channel real quick.
It's Awake and Activate.
Awake and Activate. Excellent. Thank you so much for calling in, and you know, our obviously our condolences for everything that you've gone through.
Oh no, don't even spread it. I will send email, and I'll put in to Cherie, and I'll put in the header that it's me about that Sedona thing. If you guys are interested and available.
Okay.
But
awesome.
Just keep it to yourself, okay?
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much.
All right, I love you guys.
Love you, Michelle. Take care.
Have a great night. Bye.
I'm so glad she stayed in touch.
All right. I think we might have somebody that disagrees here. I don't know.
Oh.
I've got a name here on the screen. I think it's who I think it is, but we're going to go to area code 865. 865, what's your name and what's on your mind tonight?
Hey, Chris and Sheree.
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, I'm Sheila.
Sheila, how are you, my dear?
Yeah. Hey, a couple of things I want to say. One is I should apologize for the way I came across.
Oh, well, I apologize if I was rude too.
I apologize if I was rude as well.
But it's all good. You know, we're having fun tonight. So
it can
it's
all
not
be water under the bridge.
It's not a problem. Yeah, it's not an issue.
But I do want to explain where I'm coming from, if I can.
Please do.
Because it's been a build-up. Yeah. So where it comes from is, so I don't really have a YouTube channel, so to speak. I'm not a YouTuber. And so I have certain channels that I've watched for a couple of years now. You guys being one of them. And I've noticed over the past probably 3 or 4 months, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those channels, which were spiritual in nature, are suddenly just kind of done a flip-flop to campaigning for Donald Trump. I don't care anything about Donald Trump, Joe Biden. I don't care anything about any of them. I mean, I truly don't. To me, it's all the same thing. It's just one cabal fighting another. But I don't understand. I mean, there's been such a dramatic shift, and it's hard to just sit back and watch people that never had anything to say about politics totally devote their spiritual channel to campaigning.
Well, I definitely understand that.
And going as far as selling masks, you're not the only one selling masks, making a political statement. That is happening not just with you. Other people one lady went on and said Donald Trump was the Antichrist 3 months ago, and now she's selling Trump 2020 masks. So,
well,
okay. So there's a lot of that, and it's hard to just sit back and say, who's real? You know, who's being for real anymore? Who is this just actually their opinion, and who is kind of being bought off? Because some people have been bought off. They have. There's no question about it.
Well, I respect that, and I appreciate the feedback, especially if you've been listening to us for a long time. It's good to know what people are feeling out there. We came from a kind of truther background. Sheree and I met. I don't know if you've heard this story, but I'll be real brief. She was a moderator on the Prison Planet Forum for Alex Jones, and I was like kind of a troll, not really trolling to make people feel bad, but kind of getting people to think outside of the zeitgeist of the forum. And she was actually assigned to keep an eye on me. So we came from like the conspiracy background and then kind of evolved into the consciousness stuff. And then the journey kind of has taken us to another level. But it's really, like I said, it's deeper in my opinion than politics. It seems like politics on the surface, but it's a marker of where we are in the energetic battle that we find ourselves in. And also, I mean, who would be appropriate to talk about politics than people who understand the consciousness? Because if it's just people that are all political pundits, then they're just repeating whatever. But people who are into the spirituality are seeing things from a higher perspective or an outside perspective or a spiritual perspective, to be able to really gauge everything. I think the thing with Trump is that he's the number one thing that I really like about him is he hasn't declared any wars. And that has saved millions and millions of lives. Do you remember when Obama was in office and it was war, Syria and ISIS and Libya and all these different countries? It was always a conflict. People were always wanting to bomb us. And it's been peaceful over the last 4 years up until this point, obviously. But
yeah, to be honest, I'm not a political junkie. I mean, I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying I haven't really, up until like the shit has hit the fan the past year or so with all this coming on and watching I've kind of been watching what's going on too, like what's been coming. I've seen what's coming just like a lot of people have. And so here we are. So it's hard for me to say he's the only good guy when the whole U.S. got shut down. They're getting shut down state by state again. We're following the plan the same as the rest of the world. I know he talks and says stuff, but he doesn't do anything different. He doesn't do anything different, in my opinion. And that's why I don't see the higher perspective of him being, the savior or whatever of America. I don't see it. I don't see it. I think he talks a lot. I think he says a lot of stuff they probably wish he didn't say against the gang there is a gang that's the deep state, the Democrats, whatever. Definitely is. But I don't see him doing anything. If he wanted to, he could blow the cover off of a million different things, but he never does. He never does. And he's racing a vaccine out, warp speed to the vaccine. So I just can't excuse all that to me. And I just want to explain where I was coming from on the.
No, I totally understand. As far as the vaccine thing, real quick, let me ask you this though: if you were the president of the United States, and the majority of the country were a bunch of morons who wanted a vaccine, would you not give them a vaccine?
That they're invested in and paying for, and
like if they didn't have a vaccine, the majority of these people would go and rush the White House, pull them out, and tie them.
They'd probably beat him to death.
They drag him from the back of a pickup truck
after putting a mask on him, of course.
Well, look, you could hand it out at CVS and Walgreens just the same as they do the flu shot. But he's mobilized the military to make sure every 350 million doses are ready by the end of the year. That's not just going along with it. And he doesn't have to go along with it. He could say, look, let me tell you what's in a vaccine. Let me just explain to you. Let me tell you what happened on 9/11. Let me tell you about Jeffrey Epstein. Let me tell you about Bill Clinton. He could just lay it out. There's nothing stopping him from doing that.
Actually, there is. There's about honestly, I would say 325 million different reasons why he doesn't do that. And that is social instability. If you did that, do you have any idea what that would do to millions of families that have nothing to do with politics? They have nothing to do with anything. All they do is they work for a company that's connected to a company that is doing all of this organ harvesting with China, for instance. That would affect so many people that had nothing to do with any of this, that he is responsible
what are you
enough to
talking
not
about
do
with
that.
work and heart
Number
things?
two, well, I'm sorry,
Why could
what?
he not explain what's in a vaccine? Why could he not explain what's in a vaccine? Why could he not? I mean, why? Okay, here's a good one. Why is he giving millions and millions of dollars to Moderna, who's connected to Bill Gates, who's funded by Bill Gates?
Let me tell you
who's
why.
just
Because
all connected with this thing.
no.
Tell me why.
Because if
there's
you
not
look,
a good reason for that.
because no, there is a good reason actually. If you look into the way Moderna is making their vaccines, it is radically different than the way traditional vaccines are made. Traditional vaccines are made using a culture method that involves either dead fetus
Yes, an
cells.
RNA vaccine that will change your DNA. That's what kind of vaccine it is. It's an RNA messenger.
Okay,
I'm a
sweetheart.
nurse. I
know what RNA is,
totally
and I
how it
also
works.
know that RNA and DNA
Okay.
are two different things.
Yeah, it's a messenger that impacts the way your DNA works. It activates certain things for your DNA to do. It can change your DNA.
So can
It can,
radiation,
and it
from
will.
CT scans, so can a million other things. And
Well, are you going
to be honest, nobody has these studies in front of them that basically say
Right.
this one vaccine is just as bad as this other vaccine that Pfizer or Merck is going to be making, that's going to have dead fetuses in it or have dead monkeys in it,
Right.
that contain
So
all
why
these
not tell
extra
everybody
viruses
what's
that are
in
going
it?
to give your kids cancer.
Well, here's where I stand on it.
So
I don't.
Instead of
paying
saying
for
everybody
it.
gets your shot, which is what he says, everybody gets your shot.
When did he say
Everybody get
that?
'em.
When did he say that?
Why would he not tell?
No. Well, hold on.
He
Let me
said
jump.
it.
Let me
He said
jump
it
in.
out on the way to the helicopter
let-
a month or two ago.
Let me jump in. Let me jump in for a minute because like the
Mhm.
mask situation. He came out and he said you can wear a mask if it makes you feel better. I'm not going to wear one, but you can wear
Thank
one
you.
if you want.
Right.
He has
Right.
to kind of play to the morons out there because I mean people are demanding a vaccine. My concern is
I'm with you on that.
well, my concern is
You don't
mandatory.
need the military for that.
My concern is mandatory vaccines. If we have mandatory vaccines,
Yeah.
that changes everything. It's the choice. It's if people want to go inject
Well, let
themselves,
me
they can
ask
go
you.
inject
Here's
themselves.
the thing: if he was working for them,
If he makes it mandatory, are you going to change your mind about it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
oh, absolutely, in a heartbeat, absolutely. But he's not
What if
going
he
to. You know
says
why?
It's
He's
up
not
the
going to.
governors? What if he says it's up to the governors?
He's
If he-
not going
Because that's all
to.
he's
But
doing.
if he
He's
did
putting
say
it on
that to
them.
the, if he did say that to the governors, yes, I would turn on him in a heartbeat. However, the only time
That's what he's
That
saying
he-
with the shutdown.
There's a delay, so
Yeah,
that's why y'all keep
I know.
talking
That's
over each
why
other.
I'm like,
There's
yeah.
like a 1 second delay.
No, I'm
between
sorry.
them.
There's been entire studies done on the effects of Trump's anti-vaccination tweets on the public consciousness. Donald Trump and vaccination, the effect of political identity, conspiracist ideation, and presidential tweets on vaccine hesitancy. They wouldn't be doing entire studies on this if he weren't anti-vax. The only reason he stopped
Seriously, I'm
making
not-
the only reason
I'm
he
not
stopped
saying
making
he's not
anti-vax
saying
statements
that. He-
is because it would isolate a large majority of the base of people that are just absolute morons, but their hearts are in the right place.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Like I said, if it becomes mandatory, that's a whole nother
Yeah,
issue.
absolutely.
But I know that he defunded the WHO, and that's essentially defunding Bill Gates as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting it in the hands of the military,
Except
from what I
Gates
can
and
tell,
Moderna,
because
that
who
will
else?
with
Who
Bill
else do we want developing this vaccine? Do we want Bill Gates developing it? Do we want the World Health Organization? I mean, I think by having the military
Yeah.
develop it, he can have a little more control over how it's developed, as opposed to having outside entities from other countries coming in and interfering with it. That's the best that I can tell about it. But as long as I don't have to get stuck with it, I don't really care about the situation.
How are you're just trusting that you won't, right? I mean, you're just trusting it's not going to be.
Well, you're trusting that you will, though.
No, I'm assuming because that's the way they're doing everything else.
Okay.
and he hasn't stopped that. He hasn't stopped mandatory masks being rolled out everywhere.
Well, Bill Barr,
You know what
Bill
I'm
Barr's
saying?
actually he's going
We
after
can disagree on
Bi-
all that.
Bill Barr's going after the governors who have been violating people's civil rights. So he's building, from what I can tell, he's building RICO cases against Antifa. He's building cases against the governors as well. So I don't know. I mean, it could all be talk. You know,
Against the
we'll have to
governors?
see. We'll have to see where. Yeah. Bill Barr announced that he's going to go after the governors that have been violating people's civil rights. The way he handled the coronavirus is, in my opinion, the most constitutional way that you possibly can. He said, "I'm not going to force anybody to do anything. It's up to the governors." He said he stands on the
Right.
he stands by the 10th Amendment, and because of the 10th Amendment, he doesn't have a role to come in and do that. But because of the 10th Amendment, he can go after the governors if they impede the civil rights of people. So it's, you know, I don't know where it's going to head, but I do know this: if it was one of the cabal, it would be federal lockdown all across the board until we have mandatory vaccines. I mean, you heard what Fauci was saying. He's saying everybody needs to be locked down until there's a vaccine, and we have to do this indefinitely. It could go on for 18 months. Trump was the one that stood up and said, "No, we're not going to do that, and we're gonna keep on."
Well, let me ask this about that. One last thing about that, and then we'll just agree to disagree on. That's fine if you believe in him. That's fine, and if you can excuse things, that's fine. I mean, I'm not trying to take issue with that in and of itself. I was trying to explain where I was coming from with seeing all these different YouTubers just turn into Trump campaigning is all, instead of actual. And when I actually hadn't seen you guys in a couple of your shows or whatever, and when it opened up with the Trump rap, and then the mask selling, I'm like, what the hell is happening? You know what? I just don't know what. But nonetheless,
Well,
about
the mask thing,
Yeah.
I'm
Let me say
totally
this about-
We're totally
opposed
against
to
the
the
masks.
mask thing.
Yeah.
But I figured I want
Then why would
masks
you
for
put
myself
them?
if I have to wear them.
If I have to wear 'em.
that have a message on them that comes from my heart.
Right.
So it's kind of like a big FU to the local governor here and to anybody that's forcing that, and maybe even something that can help wake people up
Yeah.
when they see, COVID survival rate 99.6%. Oh, wait a minute,
Right.
I didn't know that. Let me go look into this.
Right.
I hope that
I guess my point is, at what point are we going to kind of stand up, against it? If we just keep kind of going along.
Oh,
Now they've
absolutely.
made masks mandatory.
I've worn a mask.
Go along.
I've worn a mask one time
Right.
in this entire time, and that's we got rear-ended by a drunk driver on the 4th of July. We had to go to the hospital afterwards, and I had to wear a mask in the hospital.
Right.
And the doctor that came out to see us, he was wearing a full 3M respirator. And I mean, his entire face was isolated. And I looked at him and I said, "These really don't do
Right.
anything, do they?" He goes, "No, not
no,
really."
not really.
I went to the doctor the other day. I didn't wear a mask. They didn't say anything to me. So no. I'm really adamant about this. But see, here's the thing. I went after this car accident, I went and I got a massage. And I was thinking to myself, if I go in there and I act a fool about a mask, I'm going to get a really bad massage from these people. They're not going to want to deal with me. Luckily, I walked in with no mask and they didn't say a word to me. So I was able to slide through in that situation. But it just seems like, it's coming to a point to where I better have one. If I want to continue, they're taking away people's business licenses too.
Right.
And
I
that's
was gonna
another
say
thing. Because
that.
it's like now, if a business doesn't want to, they have to, otherwise they get their license taken away.
Right.
And I don't like this at all. I don't.
And honestly, that's where this hits me right here, is because I am feeling convicted, really, that everybody's just going to, or I shouldn't say everybody, if I keep just giving in because I want to keep my job, because I want to keep my business, because I want to get a massage, because I need to go into the grocery, whatever. If I keep, next thing it's going to be, you have to have a vaccine to go into the grocery store.
Yeah.
The next thing is going to be is something else and something else. And I personally am convicted that I have to draw the line. I have to draw the line, even if it means I have to give up whatever, because I can't go along with it. In my heart, I know it's not right. I know it's not for the right thing. I know it's a lie, and I can't go along with it. And that's where I was coming from tonight.
No, I wholeheartedly agree with you. I don't know if you follow me on Facebook or not, but I have been going on and on and on about the exact same thing. And some of my posts have been shared dozens and dozens and dozens of times. The message is really resonating with people. This is where I posted just about 2 weeks ago. The mask is where we have to draw the line, because that's one step away from the edge of the cliff. And after 9/11,
Right.
we watched our liberties. We gave up all of our rights. After 9/11, we found no terrorists, and then our rights were never restored. No, I completely, wholeheartedly agree with you. And if it heads in that
So
direction,
I'm planting
then,
the garden.
yeah, I know. I can tell you this for sure,
doing
though.
what I have to do.
I can tell you this for sure. If Biden gets elected, all of this, what you're saying, is 100% guaranteed. If Trump gets elected,
I agree.
there's a possibility, and I would say a good possibility, that we're not going to move in that timeline. If we do move to that timeline, then, I was wrong about him. Many other people were wrong about him. But I'm going by the information that I have right now, rather than assuming information coming on down the line. I'm just trying to take everything one step at a time. But I promise you, Sheila, if he turns, I will be the first one to speak out against it.
I guess I'm just going on what I feel. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel what I feel about the whole thing, and I've learned to trust that. So,
Well,
that's where I'm coming from.
I respect that. I feel that 100%. The other crazy thing about this is the whole world situation right now. Our thing is to drink ayahuasca, come back, talk about spirituality, talk about all of that. We can't do that with all the chaos that's going on right now. We tried. We just drank some ayahuasca last week. Nothing.
Weekend.
It's just like brick wall after brick wall, because the energy. I mean, we're like in a cesspool of bad energy right now. So yeah,
It was actually doing more harm than good. It felt like it was doing more harm than good.
Well, let me just wrap up and say, I'm sorry if I came across as being like attacking you guys. I honestly, I hope you can tell it wasn't coming from like trying to be horrible to you or anything. It was just, I guess I'm hurt by it, by not y'all necessarily, but.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this,
true,
Sheila. Thank you so much for calling in, because it's nice to know that you're actually a real person, because it's hard to tell behind the screen, because there's so many different people talking shit all the time, and to be able to connect with somebody like you with a different view and know that it's actually a real person and not just somebody, just
a bot.
It changes the dynamic.
Yeah,
and
we're
so
in danger and that's why I called, because we're in danger of just dismissing absolutely everybody that feels differently than us as being just insignificant, or like you said, a bot. And you don't know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly don't want to make anyone ever feel like that. I mean, that hits home for me, because I understand exactly how that feels, and I'm sorry if we made you feel that way. That's never our intention. This is a really rough time for everyone.
I think this has been great, though, because I
this
think
has been good,
I need to be personally more mindful.
Me too.
Of when I'm interacting with people, like this.
Well, we all do.
Yeah. I wish I can give you a hug right now, Sheila. I really do. But here's an energetic hug for you. And no, this has been great. Thank you so much for connecting with us tonight.
Thank you. Good night.
We love you. Take care.
Love you.
Oh, I feel terrible now.
I feel awful.
Oh, man. She was so sweet.
She was really sweet.
Oh.
But it goes to show you
I want to read. I want to read this. I read it on the show yesterday, so again, a lot of the show's redundant, but
they can't listen to it otherwise.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sure YouTube's going to get it together within 48 hours or something like that. But I want to read this for Sheila in particular because I posted this a few weeks ago on Facebook because I think she'll really resonate with this. Let me find it. I got to scroll down. Oh, here's two of them, actually. Hold on. Let me go back to this one here. God, I post way too much on social media. I need to get a life. Here it is. All right. So I took a little break from social media. Definitely not nearly as long as I expected, but I woke up this morning and I figured, let's go ahead and separate the wheat from the chaff. This was July 8th. I call this one... Oh, no, this is different. Sorry. I think this one was actually further down. All right, I'm almost there. Anything on your mind, Mrs. Gio? Oh, here it is. Okay, so I found it. So this was actually July 1st when I posted this. I read a post about a father who refused to go to his daughter's wedding because she's requiring everyone to wear a mask. The comments were all directed at how he's a deadbeat dad, an idiot, deserves to be disowned, etc. It's quite disheartening to see this issue dividing families on such a special occasion. If it was my daughter, I would have go ahead and appease her on her special day. That being said, I'd like people to understand that many of us were born before 9/11, and we remember what true freedom is like. The younger generation sadly does not. We gave away one freedom after another, and now our children are groped at the airport. Every communication is monitored. Our movements are data-based, and we live with cameras on every corner that do everything but monitor crime. Our children believe this is normal, but we know that this is not the case. We gave up our liberties in the name of security once before, and our children consequentially inherited the world that we foolishly created. Now we watch as they not only make the same mistakes, but do so with so much fear that they're willing to riot in the streets to achieve the destruction of their own liberty. None of us care about wearing a piece of cloth on our face. In fact, it could be a very fun experiment if we believed it to be harmless. However, aside from the fact that we're breathing in our own recycled bacteria and destroying our immune systems, the mask represents an overreach of government into our most sacred space, our health. It's a huge leap towards mandatory vaccinations and ultimately our inability to choose what goes into our bodies. Our generation has seen government transform from an annoying entity that writes the occasional traffic ticket to silently reaching into every aspect of our lives. It did so through intimidation and fear in order to protect us from an invisible enemy called terrorism. We woke up to the fact that we were being manipulated only after we turned every stone and found nothing. Despite the fact that we found nothing, our freedoms were never restored. Today, we face many invisible and unidentifiable enemies, from systemic racism to quote-unquote coronavirus. But one thing remains constant. We're being manipulated into giving up our freedom, and once again, our children will turn every stone seeking out this invisible enemy called coronavirus, and they will find nothing but the absence of liberty. We used to believe in live free or die, but now we live in a society of police and comply. The mask represents so much more than a simple cloth over our faces. The mask is where we must draw the line because it's one step away from the edge of the cliff. So again, to Sheila, I'm right there with you when it comes down to this. It's not a very good place to be, not at all. We have to take it one step at a time, though. Really, like I said earlier, our only hope is that Trump gets reelected and all this comes to an end. Because I know for sure that if Biden's elected, everything that we are fearing right now is going to happen.
Right. You know, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like one of those situations where somebody, you know, has cancer and it's bad news all around. And it's 100% chance of death if you don't get the surgery and all that. And it's, you know, maybe a 50-50 if you do. If you don't, yeah, 100% chance you'll die. If we get Biden in, 100% chance. 100% chance it'll go to tyranny.
Yeah.
100% chance. So we have nothing to lose.
Yeah, that's the way I see it as well. Who would vote for Biden? Nobody. That's why they want to do the mail-in ballots, so they can try to steal the election.
Right.
And
Trump wouldn't allow that.
Yeah. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, but
see how it plays out.
I still feel that Trump is going to stay on the path, and that everything's going to clear itself out moving forward. But we'll see. We got a couple of donations. I want to address those real quick. We have a couple more people on the call board as well. I want to take those calls too. Lisa Truth Seeker again donated. She donated on the show yesterday. Thank you, Lisa. One of the first things Trump did as soon as he got in office is he visited the CDC. Interesting. I don't know the context behind that, but there's another one here, and maybe you can help clear this up, Cherie. Hey, Chris, I'm a big supporter of Trump, to Dirty Dog, and he's our only hope, that it seems. But what are your thoughts on Trump wearing a mask now? Seen YouTube videos on Trump pushing the vaccine also. I've seen a couple of videos about Trump funding Gavi, which is connected to Bill Gates. And people who have been making these videos seem to not quite understand how Gavi was funded. So we can talk about that real quick. I'll pass it over to Cherie because she's the expert on this. Or do you want me to take it?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Clinton actually started Gavi on June 4th in the year 2000. It was like the last year of his presidency. And it was like his final nod to the eugenicists. And it was a big deal. Because Gavi's mission statement is to basically vaccinate every child around the world with the routine vaccinations. You know, it used to be 12, then it was 18, now it's like something like 30 something vaccines. And their mission is to get all kids vaccinated. This had absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with COVID-19. It never did have to do with COVID-19. On June 4th, 2020, when that money replenished, that's what it did. It was a replenishment. That replenishment was voted upon on June 4th, 2019. It's always voted upon that the year before, and then it's dispersed on June 4th the following year. So anybody that's saying that Trump had anything to do with this at all is just not looking at reality, because what could he have done? It was already set in stone. This is a part of the governmental structure of dispersing money, that he has nothing to do with that. So that blows that right out of the water. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So, we'll take a couple more calls here in just a moment. I'm going to take a quick break. I got to get a little bit more coffee, and I want to give the callers enough time. As you can tell, we like to spend time with our callers here, and we're not on a system clock. So, double plus good. Oh, you know what? I'll play Shout. Why not? This is a track I did a couple months ago. If I would have done it a couple months later, though, the lyrics would be different. But still pretty cool, though, nonetheless. All right, we will be right back.
Chris Steele back up in this global resistance 2020 vision. Conspiracy theories and now conspiracy facts in the middle of this worldwide lockdown. I told you we're in a lot of trouble. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Yeah. Let it all out. These are the things I can do without now. I'm talking to you now. Yeah. Fucking new world order. Yeah. Let it all out.
see you stand and shout. Fuck the New World Order, fuck the CDC, fuck what they told ya, fuck Bill Gates, fuck your vaccines, fuck your curfews, and fuck the machine. Fuck Agenda 21, fuck the protocols of science, fuck Beto Woods, save the kids they be buying, fuck the Podestas, fuck Crooked Clinton, fuck the cabal. Now it's time for a lynching. Fuck Abramovic and fuck spirit cooking. Make them eat their pain when everyone is looking. Fuck the Catholic Church and the motherfucking Pope. Time to flay them all alive cause we're running out of rope. Fuck Illuminati cause we're taking back the lights. Set it all aflame in the dark of the night. Now it's time to rise, time to open up your eyes. Stand up and shout when you see through the lies.
I'm shouting from the mountaintops to let it out. We're witnessing the agenda we always read about. Can't let them take the planet, this place is ours. Who are you, who am I? We're made from stars. So who does the who think they are? Look into your consciousness if it can link that far. The human race is fucked now, no KY. It's either fight against the AI or say bye. So fuck IBM and the IMF. Out there breaking up refugees like Wyclef. These people are worse than Hannibal Lecter. Let's go arrest the pedo podesta. Don't trust Bill Gates, fuck the mark of the beast. Fuck the blood that he drinks and the carcass he eats. Fuck the banks that crash the market to get and steal wealth. Don't need a mean to remember Epstein didn't kill himself.
The New World Order, shout it out once again. Fuck the propaganda, fuck CNN. Fuck the talking heads causing panic in the streets. Fuck the deep state all the way to Beijing. Fuck the Patriot Act, and as a matter of fact, fuck climate change, fuck a carbon tax. Fuck the real ID, fuck COVID-19. Fuck the Wuhan lab and motherfuck 5G. 2020 vision, now it's man against machine. They don't call us Skynet, they call us Starlink. Linking up the systems, now we're living in the matrix. Infected with the virus, but they can never take us out, no doubt. And we're not gonna take it. Living in a cage, now it's time to break it. Now let me see you bring it from your heart to your mouth. Make the whole world quake when we stand up and shout.
cries of the mystery speak again. Bidding organic consciousness a welcome to the House of Light. The great institution of materialism has failed. The false civilization built by man has turned, like a monster destroying its creator. Science battles itself impotently against the barriers of the unknown. Only your consciousness knows the true path. You The illuminated can carry the understanding upwards towards the light. Only raw consciousness can teach the children of men to live well, to die well, and in perfect measure, be born again, through the knowledge of virtue, compassion, love, and true understanding, as you are sublimely raised, beyond the veil.
All right, we are back, and
Oh, we have a kitty.
yeah, Sekhmet wanted to come and say hello to everybody. Look how big she's gotten.
They've gotten
Oh my God.
huge.
That's one big kitty right there.
That's a huge kitty.
Uh-huh. So I'm sure people remember when they were teeny tiny little babies.
They were so little.
Here she is.
Yep.
Ugh.
They're huge now.
Uh-huh.
And they get brushed every day.
They do.
And Daddy plays with them an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3, every day.
They're huge. It's because we give them Aya Life on a regular basis. Aya Life is our CBD oil. It's infused with the spirit of Aya. It's one of the reasons why I walk around without a mask, because I know that my immune system is really, really, really strong.
Yeah.
And you actually came across some information showing that the people who die of COVID die of what's called a cytokine storm. And there were other articles that came out saying that CBD prevents the cytokine storms. And since we came across that information, we found more and more and more articles saying the exact same thing. This is all coming. These aren't like articles from news websites. These are coming from like medical journals. So I think that's the reason why we've been walking around so nonchalantly without a mask. It's like, okay, this is our mask here, the Aya Life.
Yeah.
That's our immune system. I've always had faith in my immune system. AYALife.com. I don't want to go too much into Aya Life. However, if you use coupon code BTV Tribe, we've extended the buy one, get one free. So you can go in there and put any 2 items in your cart. You can put 4, you can put 6, you can put 8, however many you want. Go to the checkout, put in BTV Tribe. It's going to take 50% off of the total. And we had started it during the whole lockdown situation at the beginning of the COVID thing, because we wanted to make sure everybody had access to this. And everybody who has been fine throughout this whole COVID situation. But obviously we're extending it now because it's really important to get that immune system boosted. And it brings you back to balance. It really does. We've received so many amazing testimonials about it. So yeah, AYALife.com, and the coupon code is BTV Tribe. BTV Tribe. So
Yeah.
Let's go back to the call-in board, unless there's anything you wanted to chime in on.
Nope.
Okay. Let's go to area code 847. 847, what's your name and what's on your mind?
Hello?
Hello, how are you?
Hello? Am I on Beyond the Veil right now?
You are.
I've been waiting for an hour.
You're on the air.
What's up?
What's up?
How are you? I hope you all have a beautiful day, evening, night, wherever you're listening in the time zone, the timeline of wherever we're at. Man, I wrote down like points that I had. I've been listening for like 2 hours. I'm sitting here. I'm like, oh man, I want to say this point. I want to say this point. Blah blah blah. Talk as little about politics and as much about the timeline and what's going on in the reality, dude. Oh man, I'm so embarrassed.
That sounds That sounds perfect. We definitely want to shift the frequency in that direction. As you can tell, we give our callers plenty of time, so the floor is yours. Take us away.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, well, one thing I'm going to say that's not my point. I can't believe Sheila called in. She was really nice.
She's a sweetheart.
She's a sweetheart.
I
She's a stand-up gal
bad
too.
afterwards.
That's a stand-up gal right there. That whoever said that in the chat room was spot on.
Oh my gosh! Surprised my spirit. She did, Sheila. Thank you,
Yeah.
Sheila.
Thank you,
Anyway,
Sheila.
All right. Okay. I was in the super chat saying all this stuff. Okay. That's I gotta. Sorry. Anyway, I got like 5 points that I can get through in about 5 minutes if y'all give me the floor. If y'all give me the floor. All right. Check this out.
Take it away.
You have the floor.
4, 5. Yeah, it's about 5. Man, it's about 5 points I got, and I'm gonna get out of your hair, and hopefully, the next caller who's been waiting for an hour and a half can, listen and chime in with their points of view. I want to say importantly, very importantly, because you were just talking about the masks and everything, and I'm in Chi-Town getting down, and it's going to become mandatory here in a couple days, so I'm wearing a bandana. After I heard AJ say on the news war, like, hey, the 3M mask doesn't do anything. And I'm like, what? Because I was like waiting forever to even go outside before I got one. And then I got one. And then I'm like, what? They don't do anything. I'm like, ugh, well, yeah, this thing's getting stinky. So anyway, 2 days before the BBC News released all, the fake numbers and, there's doctors getting some comp money, for saying, oh, yeah, this guy's a COVID patient and he totally died. Blah, 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 blah. So 2 days before that, there's a Bloomberg report saying that anyone with type O blood is about 80-90% resistant. Don't quote me on the percentages, man. I'm so bad with numbers. But anyone with type O blood is very resistant to the COVID virus because if you look at the blood actual picture of the blood and the picture of the COVID-19 is like the devil of type O blood, and for some reason it just doesn't get in there. Gotta say that point real quick, and the funny thing is that, quick point is that you said the most constitutional thing right when my phone here, and this call was at 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Hi, I'm Hooked on Chronics. Nice to meet you. So you guys are saying about the gin, and Mao took the DM. Okay, if I say it, I'm going to get thoroughly investigated. So, I did that once, and I got to the 6th. It's very hard because you have to have there was like a group of people that like handed me some green rope, and I just grabbed onto it, and it took me to a place where they showed me how to they're like, okay, you have 2 choices. You want to learn how dimensions are built, or you want to learn about your life. I'm like, dude, my life is so stupid. Like, I hate it so much. Come on, show me the real stuff. So the Jinn are like the antibodies of the real beings of light in the 6th dimension. They've been talked about thousands of years in the religion, and obviously religion just gets mutated, and people, governments get a hold of writings, they mistranslate, yada, yada, yada. Nobody cares. So, but the Jinn are really bad. You were talking about the body snatchers and people who could just get replaced because they just let their consciousness just get controlled by this 6th-dimensional entity, and most people on the teams can only reach the 5th. So it's a really, 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 really tricky thing saying, hey, nothing can kill you if you're not mentally active. It's a very tricky point. I don't want to stay on that point, or else somebody's going to show up at my public housing in my face. So I'm going to get to the other point. Then we were talking about you guys were talking about temples and stuff, and the pyramids, and the pyramids. I think my beliefs, they may have functioned as an electromagnet grow house, the virgin birth, the Christ birth. I saw like an hour documentary that was talking about that, like 12 hours of daylight, 12 hours of nighttime, blah, blah, blah. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about King Solomon. King Solomon's temples were completely raided before he died. Nobody cares. Nobody talks about it. No history books are going to report on this. King Solomon's temples were raided by the bricklayers. But all the people, it's basically like if some rich skinny dude got his house robbed by construction workers, okay, the bricklayers. Let's just say that. So King Solomon was definitely onto a thing about how to control these some of the negative Jin, Lane, and the Fifth who were just chilling, and they want to control stuff on this plane because they have nothing better to do. It's like being in an episode of Groundhog Day for them, living in existence like that. So they want to control as much as they can. Nobody knows there's a thing in the back of the King Solomon's book, blah, blah, blah. If you look it up, is Poker Onion, look that up. In the back of it, there's a book of 72 angels that you're supposed to contact the angels before you even think of getting into any of these negative entities that can't control stuff.
Well, you
Now,
know, the
what I
72
really
demons,
wanna
the
talk about
72
is
demons
on
of the
computer
Goetia are the ones who built the temple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. Because if you get some crazy demons of Asia to figure out how to get precious stone. I mean, like, think about this. They had no internet. They didn't know where amethyst, limestone, or where anything was on the planet. Like, they didn't have any physical resources, so they had to rely. King Solomon basically relied on spiritual resources to build. I don't know if he built the pyramids. That could have been some crazy UFO. Who knows? I don't know. I wasn't alive then. Were you alive then? No, so you don't know. So everyone who's saying all this stuff, oh, I know this, oh, I know this, oh, I know this, you're all speculating. Everyone's just speculating all this nonsense. That's what's getting crazy. But what I did see YouTube video, probably to look about Switzerland quantum black cube computer. They had a whole ritual where a bunch of Switzerland natives dressed up as goats and went into the cave entrance to this quantum computer. And there was another guy I was talking with in Super Chat. I'll let his name.
Wait a minute. Let me jump in. Let me jump in for just a moment. So, are you talking about that thing that was supposedly caught on camera in front of CERN, where they all dressed up like goats and did like a ritual?
Oh yeah. They said it was a hadron collider, and they said this black hole was built. But like, where's our new universe? Where's our black hole research? They released nothing, absolutely zero facts after that. But then, yet, the fact that what they did build down there was a quantum computer that's so cold, so sub-zero temperature that a human being has to wear like some kind of weird heat suit, so a human being doesn't die. It's 4:21 a.m. in Chi-Town, getting down. Stay hooked on chronic. But seriously, it's ridiculous. They completely overshadow the fact that the public opinion was hey, let's build a thing that let's study black holes and stuff. They have zero research, zero facts about it. I bet you they're going to release facts tomorrow after I say it and be like, oh, this guy's totally full, blah, 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 blah. And I don't care. But the thing is I've been studying this stuff forever, and I tell it to people, and people think I'm absolutely nuts. And at this point, it's like, the go after yourself mentality. You have to have that if you know some level of truth that other people don't know. And I'm not saying I'm right. Am I trying to tell everyone in the world that listen to my opinion? I'm the greatest. I'm so right about everything. I say, no! Do the research yourself. If you think I'm nuts, great. Research it. Forget Google. DuckDuckGo, search everything if it doesn't track it. Search everything. Research me. Tell me I'm wrong. Email me. I left my email in the Super Chat 42 minutes ago. 42, the sacred number. You know what I'm saying? You look up the Emerald Family at the top. It was the most centric, Bible thing I've ever read because I was raised in Christianity. But what I would say about the quantum computer is that I have been noticing certain effects in my life, some crazy rock dealer screaming at me for 6 months. I'm like, why is this guy screaming at me ever since I got into by the way, the first apartment I ever got in my entire life. This is it. It's so filled with stuff. I don't even think the bug guys can get in here. Yeah, whatever. Who cares? Nobody cares about my stupid life. So it's just one of those things. It's nobody really researched what was going on in Switzerland. But like, what is that quantum computer doing to our consciousness as a whole as humanity? And we are organic beings. We're like, you know, and these billionaires look at us like the flies are going to slap off my arm because this is, you know, I got to keep my window open every 5 seconds because I don't have air conditioning in here.
You are fucking nuts, man. I love it.
So like, think about it. Well, thank you. They actually diagnosed me like that because I earnestly asked for epilepsy medication 3 times in the state of Illinois, and if they lock you up against your will twice in the state of Illinois, and then they do psychological tests that drove me absolutely insane. But if you do that and they prove you're sane, then they're like, oh, well, we messed up, and I guess we'll pay my rent. So, I don't care. But I earnestly asked for epilepsy medication. I want it to work. I want it to be a functioning member of society, and even trying to do that after, like, getting kicked out of high school, someone told me 6 months later, like, I punched a dean in the face because I blacked out. I didn't know what happened. Like, but the guy was going to take my iPod. I had to go to some Christian retreat thing on the bus for 4 days without, like, Led Zeppelin or, like, anything cool and awesome in my ear, like, talking to weird Christian kids watching, like, iRobot. No, it was that, Wall-E. Yeah, that stupid movie. Oh, my gosh. Brainwashing garbage. Like, you know, oh, yeah, hey, let's get us all to worship machines so we don't care about each other and worship the very beauty and sanctity of our human life and our human organic consciousness. That, yes, you were trying to say that that's what they're trying to invade. They're trying to invade our human consciousness, and my dreams haven't made sense forever. I'm like, well, what's my dream? I looked at some ID of my ex-girlfriend who cheated on me, like, in some weird traveling dream that goes nowhere, and I did nothing.
That's crazy.
Anywhere.
Your reality
like,
doesn't make very much sense either. I'm gonna have to go back and re-listen to this in slow motion. Dude,
Please
you're freaking awesome, man. I love it. Hey, let me ask you this. Have you ever seen did you ever see the movie Doctor Sleep?
No, I'm probably going to tonight.
Check it out, dude. It is part 2 of The Shining. It's freaking nuts. You're talking about feeding on consciousness and doing stuff like that.
You ever seen Mr. Nobody?
No, but I've seen it. I've seen it on Amazon, and I've always skipped over it. But is it something worth watching?
No. You gotta watch Mr. Nobody. It was, you know that guy, 30 Seconds to Mars. I don't know his name, but he's a lead singer. He was in a little bit of Fight Club, the blonde-haired kid that the guy ends up beating up. But he was so good, and it's a movie about alternate timelines. That's what I really wanted to get into. I had a dream before my birthday that there was somebody, like a salesman, like if I was trying to buy like a new mattress or something, you know, like some Tempur-Pedic mattress. My mom used to work at Penny's before Penny's got shut down by Bassett. Anyway, so yeah, like it was like some guy like advertising some dream of life, and I'm like, no, this sucks, no, get out of my face, just send me here. I know I have to go here. And that was my first dream that I ever remember before my actual birth. I might be one of the very few people on the planet to remember a birth before a dream. But, like, a dream before birth, I have epilepsy, so, like, my consciousness is racked. I should actually not have seen my 9th birthday. I had 2 grand mal seizures at 8. I don't care. I tell everyone everything. You know why? Because I think honesty is next to godliness, not cleanliness. There's so many clean people in this universe that just lie every second of their existence. It makes me sick. That's why I never cared about showering going home, because I didn't think cleanliness was next to godliness. I thought honesty was next to godliness. And feel free to counteract any of my points. Tell me I'm wrong, and spam my email with hate. I don't care.
No. Everything was great,
but I
man.
love being on the show with you guys.
We love you too, man. This has been a great call. I have to admit, I don't understand half of it right now, but I'm going to go back and listen to it afterwards.
Don't listen to it later, man. That's all I had to say. I said, hey, give me a second, because I had like I was writing down stuff for an hour, and and even the only other thing I had to even say, funny, that a woman was talking about loneliness and how there's like entities that attach to your loneliness. Oh, I've felt that my entire life. I felt like I've just been drained. I've been homeless, man. My mom, she does whatever she wants. She doesn't care. She I don't know if she thinks she's Queen Sheba or what. But if I'm a reincarnation of King Solomon, cool. If I'm some reincarnation of Archangel Michael, cool. If I'm some reincarnation of some being that I don't even know exists yet, cool, great. I'm a guitarist mainly, man. So you can see why I'm so messed up in the head. But I love your show. The only show I could listen to that has a channel of truth anymore. I think you guys will be one of the last few channels of truth, because God knows that the news won't catch us. They ain't got no super chat like you guys. They're not even trying to say anything. Like they're just trying to survive, which is understandable and respectable, right? But I love your show.
The best audience.
I want to say thank you so much
anywhere,
for
hands
being a
down.
channel.
Thank you very much for calling in, brother. I really appreciate all the loving energy and all the loving words, and we love you too. It's pretty incredible how our community here. So and people like Sheila that called in, that was even really inspiring and really. It made me reflect upon myself. And when people make me reflect upon myself or consider something else, then I really appreciate that even that much more. So we're going to get to this next caller here. And I think we're going to wrap it up here in just a second. Area code 760, what's your name and what's on your mind?
My name's Antonio. And... Yeah,
Antonio, welcome,
I need
brother.
a breather after that last caller.
I do too. I was going to take a quick break, but I figured I didn't want to keep you holding any longer.
But yeah, no. Like, it needs to be done because everything he said is exactly 100% true. Like, I was like nervous to call in and like talk about all this stuff too because I didn't know how to like centralize it in the way that he did. It was so fast that I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on here? Like I said, there's just so much now, like, and like now that he was like willing to be that crazy, like I kind of don't care anymore either.
Go nuts on us.
And
the floor is yours.
Yeah, like this is the other crazy things that he was talking about because like the fact that he brought up Wall-E, because me and my boyfriend, like our movie is Wall-E, and I was like, okay, so that's like one synchronicity there, and then the fact that he even brought up the whole Shiva at CERN and that ritual thing. Like I just recently saw a video about that, and the reason that I was calling in to talk to you guys was about magic and like being able to externally manipulate your reality, and if that's possible, because a lot of people that I see and like am learning from in magic say that magic is only internally, so like you could only affect your life internally and like only you can affect the magic. But I was calling on to see if what your guys' opinion are on that, and I was going to bring up the fact too, like with the whole quantum mechanics and quantum computer, I saw a YouTube video that said that that it's possible for, I think there was some kind of proton or something that could go through walls. And I think it was like a phantom proton or something like that. And it literally like will just transfer through a solid wall. And I was thinking, if something that nano can do that, could we? And then I saw some research paper from the CIA website that said something like the research into paranormal abilities of being able to transfer objects through walls. And basically, like from the pictures that I saw, like they just they recorded a guy pulling paper out of a bottle or something and being able to just pull it straight through. And
there was
so like all of this is coming together.
There was a movie called The Men That Stare at Goats, and that was about do you remember the name? The Men That Stare at Goats.
Yeah,
Stubblebine. Yeah. It was this whole experiment that the Army did about being able to move through objects and things like that. We were in contact with his wife for quite some time. We were on the same radio station as she was, like back in like 2010, 2011, Rima LeBeau. So I've seen the CIA and military experimenting on that. A couple of years ago, we found this document that basically said that astral projection is real. Manifestation, all this different stuff, and it's all right there in the CIA document. So they know this, and they know how to create reality. They know how to manipulate consciousness, and how that we actually create the reality. Now, to your point of magic, real quick, I would say that it's definitely possible to influence the external world, but it all does start from within. The way that I get people to help me out, rather than trying to tell the person, you're going to help me, for example, you project the energy of, you want to help me, and they'll start picking up on that. It's like a positive energy rather than a negative energy. A negative energy would be like invading their consciousness space, but a positive energy would just be like projecting the energy that they want to connect with your energy. They want to help you. One example I can think of off the top of my head, I was buying a graphics card at Best Buy, and I went in there and I found one. I thought it was the same one, and it was like $300 lower on the internet than it was at the store. And I went in and I said, "Can you price match this?" And he looked again, and I was just projecting, "You want to help me, you want to help me, you want to help me." And he goes, "This isn't the exact one, but let me see what I can find for you." And he spent 15 minutes on his personal cell phone looking for the best possible price for that graphics card for me. So it wasn't like I was trying to make him do something, but I was just projecting the energy of, "You want to help me, you want to help me." And as a result, he did. So I don't know if that sheds a little bit of light into the magic situation, but if you can elaborate a little bit more on that, maybe Cherie can chime in on that too. Can you elaborate a little bit on the magic?
More of that is like this whole scenario, like right now. I was so like worried to come on here and sound like a crazy person, and then like someone who would like from the outside looking in be like crazy called in ahead of time, speaking of everything that I kind of wanted to speak on.
Oh,
and
gotcha.
so like in a way that is like a form of like manipulating my reality, like through synchronicities or something like that, or creating just this whole scenario right now for me to experience it.
Oh, as in like manifesting your reality. Okay, so if you're talking, if you're speaking in terms of that, it's a phenomenon that I've experienced many times in my own journey. It's funny because I'll think of something. So, for example, I was driving cross country one time, and I was in a road that I've never driven down before. And I look down and I think to myself, you know what? I probably need to buy some shoes. These shoes are kind of ratty. And then the next billboard is this big like Nike store, and I'm like, did I just manifest that? I'm thinking about buying shoes, and now all of a sudden I see billboards for shoes. It's crazy how that works. I think our thoughts really manifest reality. And when you really think about this, our thoughts actually, I mean, even if it's not some kind of ethereal type thing, you think it, and then you say it, and then you put it into action. So realistically, our thoughts do manifest everything. The COVID-19 situation, for example, right now there's some people that are deathly afraid. Like they're scrubbing down every single surface, and there's this invisible thing there. And that's their reality. Like they're in that fear-based reality. And then there's others that are like, no, this is a total hoax, et cetera, et cetera. And they're going around living their lives, and their reality is completely and totally different than the other person's reality. And so both people have created their own reality based on their thoughts like that. Is there anything in particular that you're trying to manifest?
No, nothing right now. Like I've just been doing a lot of like the internal work of working out my own emotions, and like being able to catch myself in the moments of like when my ego strikes, or when like my jealousy strikes, and just like trying to take accountability of all that while also dealing with like family issues and like the past, and like letting it go. And just recently, like my grandma died, so now dealing with like her death and her passing, and just like the caller previously said about her daughter visiting her, like I've had visits from my grandma now too. Like me and my sister both were like meditating, and like we saw her kind of like dancing, and like when we told each other our experiences, it was pretty much kind of the same. And it's just like, I don't know, it's all crazy, like the fact that we have so much power, and also too that I saw a paper from the CIA too about something like this being a holographic universe, and that I think it said like the right brain gets the frequencies, and then the left brain creates the symbols and stuff to project onto the reality.
Mm-hmm.
And thinking of that, like, because I've always really wanted to control fire, like actually be able to like create fire with just my hands, and like, or to be able to touch fire, or like just deal with fire for some reason, and or like, you know, like the ability to fly and stuff like that. And I feel like, is it possible to be able to actually do that if you're in control of your own matrix reality?
You know,
because I know that we could do that in our head. Like I could imagine that happening, you know, like I could imagine myself playing with fire and see it, but like, could I actually like bring it out into this 3D space?
I think it's possible, but I think that it's very, very, very difficult, if not close to impossible. Because, I mean, you have to like break down the simulation to the point to where it's like even more than a gnosis that you're in a simulation, like disconnecting so much. And I wonder what happens if you get to that point to where you really break the connection to the matrix so much in your own thoughts. Like, do you even exist within the matrix anymore, or is that the key to breaking out of the matrix? And the reason I say that is because you don't really see people who can do that. Otherwise we would have others that can do that as well. But I have seen some people like moving books and things like that based on like chi energy. So I don't know, it's hard to tell. I've never done anything like that myself. If I have, I would definitely, you know, I would definitely be a big firm believer in that. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, or Sherry, if you have any like input.
I think that we are capable of these things at a really young age, or at least a lot of us are. I think I was, and I'm pretty sure Chris was, and I don't think it takes a very special person to be like that as a child, and then we grow out of it. And under extreme stress, we can tap into it, or under extreme focus, we can tap into it still. But like somebody just said in the chat room, you have to actually 100% believe that when you move something with your mind, that it is actually going to move. And that right there, the disbelief in the illusory nature of this reality and the total belief in the physical is what screws you up on that.
See, what I found is that changes within the matrix, it takes some time in order to manifest. So going back to that CIA document, for example, they talk about, I forget what the patterning, I think. I don't remember the term. It's been so long since we've gone over it. But it's projecting whatever it is, the hologram from the mind out into space, and then bringing it back and creating that reality.
Right.
But the further away from a possible reality, the longer that it takes in order to manifest. And this is according to that document as well. So in order to like just create something just like that, just out of nothing, like what's the probability of being able to do that? And is that so far removed from the current reality that it would take time to manifest, and more time than being able to do it like that at the snap of a finger? I don't know. I have seen some people with the ability to move objects and things like that. I have been trying for years and years and years, and I haven't been able to successfully do it. But that doesn't mean that it can't be done. That's interesting though. Now you've got me thinking about that again though, and I'm thinking like maybe I need to start trying to do that even more. So
yeah, because like I'm telling you, like this, like just tonight, like it's been going from like, okay, like I'll see a synchronicity like maybe a couple days or a couple weeks, a couple times a week. So like it happens like within the hour to like now it happened like within like just a caller. And I'm like, okay, so it's like my manifestation abilities are like increasing like 10 times fold since everything that I've been going through. And like I've only been on like the spiritual inner journey for like a year. And it's like, I don't know. It's just, it makes me wonder like what else is there, especially because I do work with autistic men, taking care of them. And it's watching them is like, it's just an experience because they are really smart in a different way. Like they see the world differently than most people. And the 4 of them are nonverbal, and it freaks me out too because they don't know how to communicate to me like what they want. And so like if you don't really get it, sometimes they get frustrated and they'll like get really angry. And they don't look very strong or whatever, but they could like literally like lift a couch up if they get too super angry.
Yeah.
And if they get like angry enough, they'll actually like go and punch a window, and like the window will crack, and they don't have a bruise, they don't have blood scrapes, they don't have like anything to them. And it makes me wonder like what is strength, what is like muscle strength, first of all, because I've also heard stories of like 4 men needing to like take down a 90-pound woman. And it's like, so then what are muscles? Like, is it really just the mind that allows that to happen? Like,
we've heard those stories about like a small 90-pound woman lifting a car because her baby's trapped under it, for example. So at those moments, it's almost like, I guess, when you think about it from that regard, maybe it's the desire to make something happen, and it's that pure, unadulterated drive to manifest whatever that is in that situation to save the baby's life that's trapped under the car. So these superhuman strengths just come to the surface, which, now that I think about it, I mean, yeah, it's very, very possible that we all have it inside of us.
Well, let me point out something real quick. That can be explained by adrenaline physically. Physically, that can be explained by adrenaline. You get an adrenaline rush, the willpower of, I have to save my baby no matter what, forces your adrenal glands to pump out as much adrenaline as they have in them, and you're able to somehow lift that car. However, there's a show called Altered Carbon, and there's this part where he's in an alternate reality. He's in a virtual reality, a simulation, and he wakes up in this simulation, and it's basically a torture chamber is what it is. And the guy says, decrease muscle memory 45%. And suddenly his muscles go limp. And he says, okay, decrease response time by 45%, and he's basically programming the muscles of this guy to not be able to respond and to be as weak as mine would be in any kind of fight. So he can't fight back. And I think it was interesting to me that you brought up the muscle strength and muscle memory, and how can this be possible that these people that they don't work out, we know that these people never work out. They are vegetables. Essentially, they're vegetables. They sit around all day. They don't do anything, and yet they are incredibly strong. I actually watched this one kid one time that was 4 years old, and he almost broke my arm. He was that strong, and I was not expecting that, and I couldn't work with him after that because I realized I am not strong enough. If this kid decides to hurt me, he could hurt me, and I couldn't stop him, and he's only 4 years old. And so I know what you're talking about. They have this weird, unnatural strength, and I think it's because they are not all the way in their body. They're not all the way in there. They're kind of halfway in.
It's funny. Yes, it's funny that you say that because I have this theory too, and I work the night shift at my facility, and sometimes I'll take a nap there because I'm the only one there, and the guys are all asleep. And like multiple times I have through our laundry room door, it seems like there's like a portal or something to another dimension that's like where there's more like autistic people. And at first it was like I barely saw anything and like really couldn't visualize it, and it was just like coming like dreams. But then this last time, one of the guys that I work with, he actually like talked to me and like told me like, "Oh, you're here. That's so cool. Like, could you help me? Can you help fix my PS5 or my PS3 and stuff like that?" And like, it legit felt like I was like astral projecting or something, and I was in another dimension. And I've had that theory too. That like, I also have a theory too that like maybe they were born with like all their human powers unlocked. Like they were like unlocked everything, like they knew and saw every single dimension, everything. And like being that powerful in the mind like creates like a delay between the 3D reality, because like they literally do feel like they live in their own head. Like they'll just like laugh at random things, but like I said, like they're really smart and they like understand you, but it's like they just do what they want to do.
Yeah, they're in their own head, but they're not in their body. It's a problem of being in one without being all the way in the other. And that's what's causing so much difficulty and so much frustration for them.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. It's just, and that just like made me realize too, then like, what is this reality? Like, is it really like, could it be a video game where like we can actually do whatever we want if we believe that it's possible? Like, and then when that's the case, then it makes like everything, the possibilities endless. I feel like it's almost like we're at the beginning stages of that. So like we fully don't know how to control it yet, but that it's like untapped potential that we will eventually be able to master through this change of everything that's happening. If that makes sense. Like that everything, the COVID, everything was like a needed thing to break down the matrix that was like established by people that no longer serve the mass population. And I feel like once we jump off of this point, that like we could actually like work on our inner selves and like our inner magic, and then by all of us doing that, like basically like the magical realm pack of a downloadable content will be unlocked.
That's a good way to look at it.
It makes me wonder, like,
yeah. I mean, you know, veils are definitely being dropped, no doubt about it. Awareness is expanding, so it's only a matter of time before more veils get dropped, and especially if the matrix is being reset and things are going back to a point of balance. I mean, we've had all these chaotic energies all around us for thousands of years now. It's all coming to an apex right now, but after those chaotic energies are cleared, I think it's going to be much clearer for all of us on a consciousness level, and maybe we can unlock all these other different abilities that we've always had, we've just forgotten about.
Yeah, same. And yeah, thank you guys. This is crazy. And then that first caller, like, I'm gonna be taking notes on his stuff, because that was like a whole TED talk in itself.
It was, man. It was for sure.
It was amazing, and it was like everything was like hitting everything that I've gotten to, like my downloads, and it was cool.
Awesome.
It was very synchronistic for me.
Cool, man. We appreciate you calling in, and thank you so much, man. Love you.
Thanks.
All right, brother. Take care.
Such a great call. Such a great show.
Yes. Bestet came to say hello now. You saw Sekhmet earlier.
Yeah, here's Bestet.
Here's Bestet. Huge also. She's a little smaller than Sekhmet.
A little tinier, but she's just as sweet.
She's the wise one.
Yeah, she's the quieter one. She's less meow meow.
You know, it's been a while since they've been able to really... See? I was just about to say, it's been a while since they've really been able to warm their butts on the mixer.
It's been so long.
That's exactly where she is. Here, look, I think we can get the sideways view here. Oh, y'all can't see her because she's completely dark. But she's right there. On the mixer. All right, so anything else for Mrs. Gio?
No, I think that's it. Since that wreck a couple weeks ago, I'm a little bit sore, but overall, I'm doing okay. So, thank you so much, you guys, for tuning in tonight. We love you, and this has been amazing.
It's been a great show. Thank you to all the callers that called in, and kiss the one you love right now. You never know when the last time is going to be. I see Alyssa back in the chat too. It's been a long time since we've seen Alyssa. She asked if this is the first BTV in a month, and yeah, I think so. I think it's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And as you can tell, we got our studio set up, which looks identical to our old studio. It's freaking creepy.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah, it's weird. Like
It's
being in
creepy.
this room, it's like,
I'm halfway expecting to go out that door and see like the old house.
Yep.
And be like, no.
Yep. We did a show last night, and YouTube is having quote unquote server
issues. Yeah. Okay.
Server issues. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see if that one gets posted too. But kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be, and we will see you even further.
Beyond the veil.
Love you.